Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Here are some words to think about. Everyone has a photographic memory. Some don't have film. And remember this, when the chips are down, the buffalo is empty. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning, morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith, and God bless America. That's one of the prayers we should all have sitting around the Thanksgiving table on Thursday. Morning, I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch, with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers that include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service this morning. Call them, 734-6969. A beautiful, very talented, very articulate, very organized. That's enough. Good morning, Gina.
Okay, so I'll send you that $50 in the mail.
Is that all it was worth?
Yeah, that's pretty much all it was worth.
Oh, okay, thanks.
Good morning.
Morning. How are you?
I'm doing well. Looks like we may see some rain showers and winds picking up today.
Yeah, Gina, honestly, that doesn't bother me at all, but what's happening across our country is really bothering me this morning.
My brother and I, actually, I was trying to sleep, but my brother was so into what was going on, within the Ferguson case that we were listening to it all night last night.
I'm going to spend most of the hour talking about that, the first hour, and I'll have you chime in on occasion, but I just want to say this before we do the pledge and get started. It doesn't do anybody any good. It doesn't do any race of people any good, any ethnicity any good at all in trying to further what they claim is a negativity against them when they go out and act like animals. Exactly,
and this is what I said to my brother, and then of course we'll move on to what we have to, but it serves no purpose to ruin your own neighborhood.
Now, you talk about being stupid. Isn't that stupid?
Yeah, it really is. Way to pretty much shut down your economy and nobody's going to rebuild. It's just watch all over again.
Yeah, I saw one of the store owners on television just sitting there on the curb with his head in his hands, tears rolling down his face, no insurance coverage, done. Yep. His whole life's work gone.
Yep.
Anyway, thank you so much. And do we have a pledger?
We have Rotten on for the pledge and Mr. Michael Rogers on for the weather.
Very good, thank you. Rotten, go ahead, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
As always, my dear friend, God's blessings to you, and thank you so much. Happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you.
Thank you, sir. Hey, I'm running late, so I've got to hurry and get to the weather forecast brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Kyle and Whitney Cheney at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945, the number to call. Look for the blue door for all your carpet and flooring, kitchen construction, all your home decor and decorations. Oh, my goodness, check out the Christmas decorations. Whatever you need to make your house a home at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And here now, the great one, Michael Rogers weather.
Breeze each day with the winds out of the southwest at about 25 miles an hour. We're off from the night. Overnight low right around 35. The rain is just to your northwest coming right at you. Tomorrow sunny with a high of 65. Thanksgiving looking pretty good. And there you go. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate that. Brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Wonderful people serving you. Look for the blue door. Call them at 678-6945. Hey, by the way, the Burley Livestock Sale Yard will not have a sale this Thursday. No sale this week because of Thanksgiving. Burley Livestock Sale Yard, 1100 Occidental Avenue in Burley. Merv May, Cade Rogge, and Lance Udy. The sale that works for you, they will not have a sale this week because of Thanksgiving, but they'll be ripping and ready to go next week. So don't forget that. No sale this week at the Burley Livestock Commission Company, and they'll be waiting for you next week. Oh, my goodness, give us a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. By the way, thank you for being with us for such a long time. Thank you for doing all our clothes for all these years in such a great professional way. Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley, 878-8900, Kevin and Cindy. And they've got the prepaid gift cards from Darrell's Cleaners. That is an excellent idea for stocking stuffers. I'm not kidding you. Right after the holiday season, everybody's got stains on their sweaters and their slacks and their dresses from all the great food and everything. And they can come on in and get them all cleaned at Darrell's Cleaners, 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. Happy birthday. Gina, we got to have some kind of a happy birthday wish in the background, because this guy is one of my best friends. He is the best neighbor in the world. Rocky Matthews is celebrating a birthday today. I believe he turns into an antique today, and he's buying Mountain Dew for everybody. So, happy birthday, Rock. Oh, today's your birthday. He loves Mountain Dew. Drinks about a gallon and a half of Mountain Dew every day.
Mountain Dew?
Yeah, he is wired, let me tell you.
So should we buy him a case?
Yeah, I'm going to go get him a bunch of Mountain Dew and leave it on his doorstep. Anyway, Rocky Matthews, happy birthday. Congratulations. Thank you very much. Hey, don't forget SafeLink Internet Services. First month is free plus free installation, and they're the best. When you order high-speed wireless internet from SafeLink Internet today, no contracts, no credit checks, unlimited data. These people do a great job. Just tell them Zeb sent you to call 677-8000. 677-8000, Idaho's number one choice for wireless internet. SafeLink Internet, the best. All right, it's your turn. Give us a call. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. About... let's see, what was it, about 7:15 last night, the verdict, if you will, came out from the grand jury in Ferguson, Missouri, and no indictment for Officer Darren Wilson. We had the feeling this was going to happen from the people we've talked to over the last couple of days, and some of the people that have been on this program, and some of the people that live back in that area that I called. And after the prosecuting attorney sat down in front of the cameras last night and discussed everything, it was fairly obvious that the young man, Mr. Brown, was acting in a punk attitude. He had robbed the convenience store, had basically swaggered down the street, and then all hell broke loose. And so this morning, everything is in turmoil back in the Midwestern city of Ferguson, Missouri, and the surrounding area, and across our United States, very unfortunately, with the violence and the fires going on at many locations. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
How you doing, Mr. Bell?
I am good, sir. Go ahead, sir.
I promised you last week at the turkey dinner that I would call you this week.
I appreciate that. I hope you enjoyed the Golden Heritage Pilgrim Pride dinner.
Oh, my gosh. I went home and told my wife that was one of the best meals I'd ever had. I said I'd have gone back twice if I could have.
Well, I appreciate that.
A couple comments here.
I was watching the news this morning, and I found a couple things interesting. Was number one, they had a lawyer there from ABC that was talking to this supposed witness that was there when all this happened.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because he started talking to her, and it was just interesting because her story changed every 30 seconds. Her story changed. He says, well, did you do this? Well, no. Well, blah, 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 you know. I mean, she didn't know which way was coming.
Well, let me ask you, and I'm going to be very blunt about this. Was the person that you saw on television, was she a black lady?
Oh, yes, definitely.
Okay. All right.
And
I know who you are speaking of because I caught her, I believe, on another station, and her story basically was like playing one of those games. What am I trying to say? Where the ball
Russian
goes
roulette.
Yeah. Well, that's another good one too.
But the other thing that I found interesting was this lawyer then interviewed 3 African-American journalists or, TV commentators and stuff.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because two of them were totally on one side, and they were talking about the looting and everything. Mm-hmm. And 2 of them said that the police did what they should have done with the tear gas and everything. But this other guy, he was totally adamant that, oh, blah. You know, the biggest majority of these people didn't have anything to do with it, and that they all left and everything. And the guy said, how can you say that? He said, when all this violence started, he said, when the police shot the tear gas, he said it was only after they shot the tear gas that these people started leaving.
Yeah.
And it was just interesting that you got 3 African Americans, and 2 of them were totally in support of the police and what they did.
Yep.
And then one of them was like, you guys are just totally disrespecting the people of Ferguson and all this.
Let me ask you a question real quick, and then I've got a whole bunch of commercials I've got to get in. But I want to ask you this because you're a very articulate man, and I appreciate your opinion. I found it to be a huge mistake last night, and I made some calls, and I wanted to know why. Why was the National Guard not brought in until this morning in its full force and entirety?
Well, let's see, I'm like you, I have a couple questions here. Number one, yesterday they were totally prepared for this. Yeah. But the question that I have that really kind of bothers me is why did they wait until 7 to 8 o'clock?
I totally agree. Yep, totally agree.
Announce that because for whatever reason, over the years I've always heard it said, and I do believe this, darkness brings out the evil.
Well, there's no question, and I've got to run, but I just want to say that they would have, I think, eliminated many of the burnings, many of the torchings, many of the shootings last night and the car destruction, etc., had the National Guard already been encamped and in place instead of coming in during the daylight hours this morning. I think they made a huge mistake, and I totally agree with you on the announcement of time. I said a couple of days ago to a friend of mine back in that area, I hope they announce it by no later than 9 a.m. on any weekday, especially like on a Tuesday or a Wednesday, a midweek day. I think it would have been a lot better than, like you said, under the helm of darkness last night at 7 o'clock. It was terrible. God bless you, sir. I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, love your show, and wish you and your family the happiest of Thanksgiving.
Thank you so much, and the same to you. Caller,
okay,
I'll be...
Talk to you later.
Thank you, sir. Caller number 2, I'll be right there. Stand by. Cold weather is here. Now, we are going to see a few bumps, up and quite a few bumps down on the old thermometer. Well, I'll tell you what. Your furnace is going to be working pretty much all the time, full time from now on. And don't go to a discount store and buy the cheap air filters. No, because then you'll be changing them and changing them and changing them, and your furnace is going, wait, what's going on here? You want me to act in peak efficiency? Well, get me some good air filters right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Yup, they've got the best. You can buy one or a package of quality air filters at Ramsey's. And actually, it's going to save you a whole bunch of money. Ramsey Heating and Electric, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. 678-0459. You stop in and see them at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley. Real quick, also want to remind you about Valley White Home and Ranch. Oh, my goodness sakes, we are getting ready for a huge remote broadcast over there on December 11th. Going to be ripping fun. Going to have all kinds of fun things. Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Sean and Mandy, the whole crew. Eric's going to be there. Oh, my goodness. And winter is here. And Valley White Home and Ranch has all your winter needs. The snow melt, the shovels, the warm clothing. I'm telling you, they got it all. And if you need a new coat, hat, or gloves, they've got everything waiting for you to stay warm outside. All the feed for your animals, everything at Valley White Home and Ranch. 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir.
The last time I checked, the National Guard has a commander-in-chief, and that is the governor. And this governor, who happens to be a Democrat, what do you think his word was from the White House? Like Harry Holder and Barack Obama.
You know, there again, that's speculation, Keith, and I can't speculate what was said or not said because I don't have any of the papers or the verbiage in front of me as far as what was done and not done. All I'm saying, I thought it was a tragic mistake, the way they handled it last night. Number one, you never announce anything like that in the dark of night, and later in the evening hours, it was like 10 after 8 back there in the Midwest, and you don't do it without having a show of force on the streets ready to curb any activity that's negative, and they were not prepared. As a matter of fact, there was one point last night where they were afraid that the police lines would buckle and the rioters and protesters would take over everything. So I think it was very mishandled.
You know, I think the National Guard is one of the most wonderful protections we have, like in the state of Idaho. You know, if there's a flood or something that comes along, they're right there. I just think it all comes down to the governor of Missouri, you know. And when you see a guy sitting on the curb sobbing because they're tearing his place apart, how do you feel about the governor? Because let's not blame the National Guard, because these are just people that are willing to put their life on the line for the cause. But you got a stupid governor sitting there in his nice warm office saying, no, I don't think we should do that yet. Let's wait till it gets daylight.
Yeah, I agree with you. I saw so many stupid things happen last night where people were acting like bozos and animals, and I have no respect for those people. Keith, I do appreciate your call. Got to run and do a set of commercials. Thank you so much, sir.
You bet.
God bless you, man. Thanks. You too, sir. Thank you. Very best to you. Denny's Restaurant. For those of you that maybe are going to be alone on Thanksgiving, I can't think of a better place to go than Denny's Restaurant. 611 Overland in Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Oh my, the very best of people are right there at Denny's Restaurant. All you have to do is stop in and enjoy like a turkey dipper. Wow, does that look good? And you can take one of their coupons and get 20% off the entire guest check. Oh my, we are going to have fun there at Denny's. You will too. The breakfast, lunch, and dinner all the time, anytime. 611 Overland in Burley, and a brand new location on Pole Line in Twin Falls. The very, very best at Denny's Restaurant in Burley. Boy, it is good food. Also, real quick, I got to gather things up here. We'll take some more calls. Berry Equipment and Rental. Eli, he's been on the radio many times. Nick and the rest of his crew over there at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. At Berry Equipment and Rental, simply put, they have all the equipment you need to get any job done right. That's right. Simply put, all the equipment, job done right, period. There you go. And believe me, too, that they've got all the Coyote tractors and the Bobcat loaders and those big Doosan loaders. Oh, my goodness, will they ever get to work for you. And whether you're buying or leasing, Berry Equipment and Rental, the place to go. Yep, Addison Avenue, West Twin Falls, South Lincoln, Jerome, and 159 West Highway 30 in Burley, Berry Equipment and Rental. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb.
Yes, sir, my friend.
Hey, I just barely got you turned on to understand you talking about Ferguson.
Yep.
You know, all this destruction that was done was well planned ahead of time. As soon as the word came out, you saw people take off at a dead run, and everything just went to hell.
Yep.
I mean, you know, this stuff was going to happen no matter what. They had it all planned out. They wanted this done.
You know, Jeff, the thing is, somebody's got to sit down and explain to me how anybody, and a lot of, or most of these people, I'm going to come right out and blatantly say this, were not residents of that area. They were bust-in antagonists. They were bust-in problem makers. They were bust-in mischievous people that wanted to do nothing but burn, loot, and destroy. And they weren't even residents of the area. But how could anybody in their right mind take to the streets and burn their own neighborhood and destroy it, especially under the auspices of what our economy is right now?
Well, I think they need to catch these guys if they can and pin them down. I mean, if they bust them in, they've been paid. You know, follow the money. Where'd the money come from? Who paid for it? Who paid for them to come in? You know, who paid for the bus? All this stuff. And just follow the money all the way down and see what you can find out as to who actually was the front man for all this.
Well, and I'm going to come right out and say it. I'm going to come right out and say this because I am not anything but blunt on this program. I point the finger right at Al Sharpton and others of his ilk that are absolutely making their money off of these kinds of activities and turmoil. And you can bet that he is going to hold more rallies across the country, and he's going to do more stirring the pot to get more maliciousness going all across major cities in the United States.
And, you know, and the thing is, yeah, we got free speech, but there's a certain point where you've got to go after somebody if he's causing that much trouble. You've got to pin him down, lock him up, and pull the key away.
I agree. And I watched it last night, and I was deeply saddened as to the idiocy and incompetency and the downright animal attitude of these people running around torching cars, breaking the windows on a liquor store for nothing more than their own party time. They didn't care about the death of a young man. They didn't care about the wrecking of a life of a police officer. They didn't care about anything but destroying, stealing, and then sitting down and laughing about it.
That's exactly right. It's just people that don't care, they're mad about something, and they want to take it out on anything and everything. You know, it's just sad that this situation happens, but, you know, we've got to police these people. There's something wrong here, and something's got to change.
I agree with you, Kilt, man. Good to hear from you. I'll call you after the show. Thank you much, my friend. Appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Bye.
Don't forget our friends at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley, 678-1191. Nick Greenwell, the best, and his staff. I mean, these are folks that are going to help you get back to being you. Absolutely know all the exercises and all the sports medicine, and they know exactly how to get you in that hydro pool and really work those muscles or whatever needs to be done to make you feel better. These are the professionals at Burley Physical Therapy and Rehabilitation, 1263 Bennett Avenue, Suite 2 in Burley. You be sure and give them a call at 678-1191. Caller, I'm going to ask your patience for 60 seconds. It's time quickly for the Capital Press Ag Minute, and it's brought to everybody by Pacific Steel and Recycling at 320 West Main in Burley, helping others in the community, and they need new or gently used coats, clothes, blankets, or toys for children ages 1 to 5. Please help. Take them over to Pacific Steel and Recycling, and you can possibly get $10 more per ton for scrap iron and 5-cent bonus on aluminum at Pacific Steel and Recycling. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
The Capital Press Ag Minute is brought to you by OnlyAg.com. Agricultural exporters fear a prolonged disruption of shipping at West Coast ports as the Longshoremen's Union has curtailed labor contract negotiations with container terminal operators. The Pacific Maritime Association, which represents the terminals, has reported work slowdowns by longshoremen along the West Coast throughout November as negotiations continued. Longshoremen have worked without a contract since July. Now the International Longshore and Warehouse Union has walked out on big table negotiations until December, stalling the prospects of striking a deal. The interruption means a deal probably won't be reached before early 2015, which will have profound impacts on companies that import and export products.
To receive instant, exclusive, unlimited access to the West Agricultural News Source, register your account today at CapitalPress.com.
Brought to you by Pacific Steel and Recycling, 320 West Main in Burley. Please help them by taking down gently used or new coats, clothes, blankets, or toys for kids ages 1 to 5 to Pacific Steel and Recycling. Really nice people. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb, 56 years ago, Al Sharpton wouldn't have existed. They had put him to sleep in a hurry.
Well,
they wouldn't have been rioting like they were last night then either, because they wouldn't have stood for it.
Well, there shouldn't be any standing for any kind of riot, for any kind of a situation. I mean, people's property, their lives were in jeopardy, automobiles, everything went up in flames last night at various locations other than Ferguson, Missouri. There were problems in Los Angeles, and there were problems in Chicago and other towns. But it just shouldn't happen, and we should not allow the voice of Al Sharpton to lead the charge of certain animals that want to go out and destroy and burn.
That's it. I can't understand why they let it happen.
Well, it
shouldn't have happened.
I agree with you, Fred.
It could have been stopped.
I think absolutely at least 90% of it could have been curtailed. I absolutely agree. God bless you, my dear friend. Thank you for your call. Appreciate it. Thank you. I agree with him. When I look at these antagonists, come on, don't sit there and play race cards with me. No. Don't anybody do that. These antagonists, these promoters of trouble and mayhem, that's all Al Sharpton is. Somebody called me the other day on my cell phone, and by the way, that number I freely give out because I'll talk to anybody, 312-2976. Somebody called and criticized that I was too hard on Al Sharpton. No, I wasn't hard enough. Al Sharpton is a sweat sock. Al Sharpton is a pair of gym clothes that have been worn too often and they stink. Al Sharpton is a man that is nothing more than an ambulance chaser trying to create more trouble to line his pockets. I have no respect for the man, and I will never talk to him or about him with any respect. He's a man that wants to see this blow out of proportion and get bigger and more dangerous because that's how he garners his money and his fame. I detest the man. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. Well, first of all, most people don't even understand what a grand jury's about. That was so obvious in all the interviews. They think this is a regular trial, and the grand jury, of course, is just to determine whether there's enough evidence to hold a trial.
It's a garnering of evidence and looking at all viewpoints. That's exactly right.
And so this morning, Robin Roberts, on ABC, you could tell she was just really put out by this whole decision. You could see it in her voice. You could hear it in her voice and see it in her face. And she was clueless about what a grand jury is about.
Yeah.
And the guy, their legal guy, did explain it. But this is all part of anarchy. I mean, you got the camp communists in there, the Black Panther Party, and all this group's in there. And why the governor hasn't just called, martial law for the area, because that's the only thing that's going to, you're out on the street, you're going to be rounded up, you're going to be put in jail, or maybe even shot.
Adrian, consider this. Consider a point here this morning and give me a short response because I am behind on my commercials. I would venture to say, and you can correct me if you think I'm wrong, But when you look at most of, like you said, the word anarchy, and when you look at the looting, and you look at the burning, and then look at the politics of that respective area, and look at who is in charge of that area's larger cities where they're having the trouble, or some of the suburban cities, they are all led by liberal Democrats, and I am demonizing them for their stand to let this get out of hand.
Oh, absolutely. Here they are just kind of marching down the street while they're burning buildings, turning over police cars and so forth. Yeah. But see, anarchy leads to dictatorship, because then you have to bring in more government control over the lives of us innocent people. I mean, this is a Saul Alinsky rules for radical technique that the communists have always used to bring about change, radical change. And now the poor officer is going to be brought federal charges for what? I mean, they have no jurisdiction in this thing.
Yeah,
Eric Holder's going to find this guy guilty of something.
Yeah, Eric Holder is going to do everything he can. I agree with you. And always, Adrian, I appreciate your call. Thank you. God bless you, sir. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it. Don't forget the Burley Area Merchants Association. Oh, my goodness, local stores that just want you to shop locally and help everybody. And you're going to be surprised at their great selections as we get ready for the Christmas holidays. Absolutely. And don't forget, next Monday, the annual Burley Christmas Light Parade. Oh, that's a ripping good fun time. Entries are going to gather at Dworshak School at 5:30. Parade to Centennial Park begins at 6 p.m. and Santa's going to come and turn on the lights and everything. Oh, free hot chocolate, donuts, and cookies next Monday. Oh, Burley Area Merchants Association, Bama. Good folks helping you. Colin, I'll be with you momentarily. Do not go away. I promise I'll be right there. I want to remind everybody about my friends at Quali's Electronics. My goodness sakes, don't forget the Black Friday sale is all this week. Yeah, all this week. I mean, you don't have to wait till Friday. You can get into Quali's Electronics at 1730 Kimberly Road, Twin Falls, and check out all the buys. Listen to this. A 46-inch smart TV, now only $429. And you'll save $300 on the top-selling 65-inch smart TV, now only $999. Oh, my goodness, what are you waiting for? Jump in the pickup truck, start it up, and head for Twin. Yep, Quali's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls with the Black Friday sale that lasts all this week. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, the decision to release that decision late in the evening protected on a lot of people that would have to travel from their workplace to get home, that would have been in jams and things, and subject probably to some harassment or even violence from these gangs. So this allowed the working people to get home safe and then determine today whether it's safe to go back out to work or not.
I respectfully take your opinion on this, sir, but I can't agree. I thank you so much for your opinion, and I don't want you to hang up. Stay with me. I disagree that I think that by creating an aura of suspense in the early darkness hours last night, it gave a chance for the animals to gather and stand on the street corners and possibly plot what they were going to do at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning, and under the veil and cloak of darkness go out and burn and loot, etc. No, I disagree with you. I think that the National Guard should have been there in full placement with the police officials. The announcement should have taken place at like 9 o'clock in the morning. I think those people that you talked about should have possibly made considerations for staying home, out of the way, out of the press eye, etc. But daytime hours, you will find at least 80% less crime start than you will in the evening hours like they did it last night.
Well, I agree that the National Guard should have been on site long before this decision was released for the safety of the community. But I still believe this was planned. The social unrest was going to happen no matter what the decision was, I believe.
You know, and let's talk about that just for a little bit, and I think you and I are going to agree on this entirely. The despicable attitude of these people whipping these minds, these very, in some cases, not much of a mind, into a frenzy to go start a parking lot full of cars at a used car center on fire. At one time, I saw that there was like 8 or 10 cars burning. Break the windows out of a McDonald's restaurant. Go over next door and break the windows and tear off the plywood of a business that was a liquor store and go in and just satisfy their own needs. I mean, these were animals. These were nothing more than animals and should have been treated as such, and I think the law was way too easy on them.
I agree. Yeah.
All right, sir. God bless you for your call. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Different school of thought. I respect that man's opinion, but the whole thing boils down to that it just got out of hand. And there's no need for this. The chaos and the danger, and there were shots fired last night, and would they have like 80 arrests or something like that? And what happened over this whole situation is something that I guarantee you, I think all of you will agree with me on. It put the police in a situation to where, let's say they were attacked physically by one of these or a group of these protesters. It puts the police on the defensive because if they fight back and they put these animals on their noses on the pavement and really cinch down and tie their hands together, they're going to have screams of police brutality. We have put the police in this country on complete defense instead of offense to quash these situations. That's my opinion. Caller, I'll be right there, I promise. Please do not go away. Don't forget our friends at Sophie's. Oh, today's the day. You better call over there right now this morning. If you want pies, rolls, or bread ordered for Thanksgiving from Sophie's Chatterbox Bakery at 530 East Street in Rupert, the number to call, you better call right now this morning so that they have time to put it all together for you. 436-0354. I will repeat. 436-0354. Sophie's Chatterbox. Bake it up a storm right now for Thanksgiving. You better give her a call right now. 436-0354. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Mr. Bell.
Speak up, Doug, please.
All righty. Yeah, I agree with you 100% what they've done to the police department. They're danged if they do and danged if they don't.
Absolutely.
They put the crosshairs on them, and this is exactly how you tear down the nation. You divide.
You know,
and just keep throwing gas on the flame.
Doug, let me ask you a question. Everybody knows, you included, that I do not like, never have liked, never will like, and I'm very prejudiced against President Obama, okay? So I say that up front. But I think last night was absolutely the worst time for him to weigh in. I think this morning would have been better after we saw the chaos, and he would have said something like, I urge all my fellow Americans, regardless of their race, to not get involved in anything involving any violence or burning or looting, and I ask you that there is no more. But last night, he almost took the side that, oh, this was disgusting and we've got to do more work to make sure that there's a better relationship with the blacks and the police.
Exactly. Him and Sharpton are two peas in a pod. I look at it.
Yeah.
And I know you're disgusted with this man. It's not the man. It's his policies and his attitude and what he's doing to them.
Absolutely.
It's not the man himself. And I feel the same way.
I cannot listen to a newscast or hear anything out of Obama's mouth that is going to lead me to believe that he is a unifier. He's a divider. He has been the worst president, I think, for dividing and being divisive with the races.
Yeah, I agree with Clint Eastwood. He's the worst hoax that's ever been opposed on this nation.
I agree. Doug, it's always good. Go ahead.
And I was going to say, those business owners out there, they need to take a little bit in their hands, too. They can't leave it all to the police to protect them.
Well,
me personally, I'd have put a sign outside my business. This business is closed. If you try to enter with the close sign, as soon as you step inside the door, you're going to be carried out.
Yeah.
And I'd have done that. I'd have stayed in there, and They might have broke the windows, but when they stepped in, they'd been carried out.
Yeah, the fear factor, I heard a couple of the store owners being interviewed, and the fear factor, there was a woman and her husband, and they were just absolutely petrified as to what was going to happen. No one in a free society of this great country, the United States, should be subjected to that kind of fear.
Exactly, and Al Sharpton's deal, we might have lost the battle, but we still got a war to win.
Yeah.
What, paraphrasing what he said this morning on the news, it just sickened me.
If he's got a war to win, I certainly hope he'll become a paratrooper and somebody gets to pack his parachute.
Put him in the front line. That's exactly where he needs to be.
Doug, thank you so much. God bless you and happy Thanksgiving.
Same to you, Zeb.
Thank you, sir. Caller, please bear with me 60 seconds. I've got to get this weather forecast on from Mad River Laser, Nicole and the rest of the crew at 502 East Street in Rupert. Oh, my goodness sakes. Nicole's making custom-made wooden Christmas ornaments, and what a beautiful job. And the wooden business cards, I ordered a bunch of them, and I love them. My clients love them. They're neat. And engraving on all the T-shirts and the hoodies and the plaques and everything. Oh, this is a great place. Mad River Laser, 502 East Street in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. And right now, here's the weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is at the ranch. Gets rain today, and it's going to kick in around before 11 o'clock. 53 for the high, and we're going to throw in some breezy conditions, too, as the winds out of the southwest, 22. Possibly gusting as high as 36 miles an hour for today. Once the rain dies down later on tonight, look for an overnight low at 35. And Wednesday and Thanksgiving is going to be really nice. Mostly sunny, temperatures in the mid-50s. Enjoy the weather, so whether you got.
Thank you, Michael. Appreciate it. Michael Rogers Weather brought to you by Mad River Laser. They do beautiful work. Nicole and the rest of the crew at 502 East Street in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. How are you?
I'm fantabulous. How are you?
I'm great. I need something to go along with my eggnog at Christmas time, so I'm going to bet you a fifth of Crown Royal on something.
Uh-oh, we can't do that on the radio, but I'll take the eggnog and sit there and sip it with you. What can I do for you?
I'll bet you 95% of the people back there that are rioting are unemployed.
I wouldn't argue, the percentage might not be that high, but I would argue and agree with you that most of them are probably unemployed. Most of them are nothing more than paid agitators to come in from out of the area. I would not dismiss that as a possibility. I'd tend to agree with you.
And then what blows me away is what was there 8 major cities last night, New York and Chicago and all of them. As soon as they started rioting, it was all set up. The other cities took off and had riots and stuff.
Let me ask you a question, sir. What good does the burning, the looting, and the rioting, what good is it going to do? What possible good can it do to further their cause or their belief or their race? Tell me, what good can it do?
Well, let me throw it back in your lap. You tell me, because I ain't got no idea. Why go around and burn up your community?
I can't answer the question. I guess you and I are on the same page, because all it does is create, and I'll bet you this is true with you too, it creates a feeling of animosity and pugnaciousness to where you want to poke them right in the nose.
Yeah, well, that's what I was telling my friend here. I said, if I was a business owner, I'd be sitting in there with my guns and stuff, because if I own something, I own something. Why should you come and take it away from me?
As well you should. I totally agree with you. Sir, always a pleasure to have you on the air. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, what good does it do? What good does it do to loot and burn and stand there? And like these punks, these worthless punks last night. There was a videographer that was holding the camera for one of the news crews, and they had on these masks. They call them Anonymous, the group that goes around and causes all kinds of trouble in the neighborhood. And one of these guys walked up to the news camera, and he just jerked the camera out of the cameraman's hands, and like thousands and thousands of dollars laying there on the ground broke. broken. That's the kind of punks and thugs these people are. Caller, I ask your indulgence. Stay with me. I've got to say happy Thanksgiving from Searles at 106 North Center Street in Oakley. Oh, hot stuffed pizza, locally grown beef, best burgers and fries in town, specially baked buns, fresh every day at Searles in Oakley. Oh, 106 North Center, it's good. Golden Valley Warehouse, 468 West, 1000 South of Burley, and the Golden Valley Warehouse and the staff would like to thank all their customers for another great year and thank you for your business, and they wish you a very happy Thanksgiving. As does the Magic Valley Irrigation at 44 East, 500 South of Burley. Magic Valley Irrigation serving southern Idaho for over 30 years for all your irrigation needs, including aluminum pipe repair and all the portable welding and heliarc welding. Magic Valley Irrigation, wishing you and yours happy Thanksgiving. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb.
Sir.
Yeah, I was watching that last night, and just like that incident you just talked about, all that reporter asked him is, what do you got there? And he said, none of your effing business.
Yeah.
And wham, out goes the camera.
There was no reason for any of that.
Yeah, why wasn't the National Guard brought in like they're supposed to and get the water cannons out there and drench them damn people down to where they'll knock this crap off instead of mollycoddling them and let them get away with it?
Al, I want to go back to a point I made earlier, and I want you to address this quickly. I said a few minutes ago that I think that the National Guard, I think local police forces, everybody was on pins and needles and afraid last night that no matter what action they took against these rioters and these looters, they would be hailed as the bad guys if they used excessive force. What are your thoughts?
I still say if they'd used the force like it's supposed to for unrest like this is going on with the colored population in that place down there, if you don't have the right to go in there and protect other people's property from a bunch of damn animals that has no business being on the street, then I say, good Lord Almighty, what's going to take care of it?
I do not understand. I want to ask you one more question, and then we'll take some more calls. Why there was not a curfew imposed?
A curfew ain't going to do any good. No. You've seen that with all them young punks running around grabbing stuff out of liquor stores.
Yeah, but I think it would have helped minimize it. I think that with a curfew, let's say a 9 p.m. curfew, and the National Guard out, and you will not be allowed to congregate, you will not be allowed to stand on street corners, I think there could have been a lot of things tougher last night that would have minimized any damage whatsoever.
That's right. They should have had some water trucks there with some good old blasting nozzles and just water them people down and keep pushing them out of the damn way.
I couldn't agree more.
They let them get away with it, and we're asking for it, and if they don't stop it, we're going to be in a whole lot of hurt.
I agree with you, Al. Thank you, my dear friend, as always. Appreciate it. All right, sir. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
There is no caller. It's just me.
Well, it's not just you. I mean, for Pete's sakes, you're a very valuable part of the team. Don't minimize yourself.
What I would say is, honestly, pulling out the National Guard would have done no good. Nobody's going to abide by a curfew. Everybody's still going to be, because the National Guard can't be everywhere. So to say that installing or implementing a curfew, you can implement it. Nobody's going to abide by it.
I disagree with you to the point where if you say that there will be a 9 p.m. curfew and the National Guard will be arresting, along with police agencies of the area, anybody that is congregating in groups of 2 or more, and there will be no standing on the sidewalks, and you can implement these. They've done it before. I think it could have minimized a lot of the problem last night. But you have to get one word, tough. And you can't worry about the retribution back to you saying that you were too harsh. You can't worry about it because people's businesses, people's lives were in jeopardy last night.
I think that if they would have put the National Guard down in the business district, yeah, maybe about 50, and that's my high estimate. Maybe 50% of the people would have gone home. On the rural streets, nobody's going to abide by that, especially when the tempers and the rage is flaring. I'm telling you, nobody's going to abide
Let me ask you this real quick.
Let
me ask you this real quick, and I know you got another call coming in. Yeah. But, Gina, the thing is, these are animals. These are absolutely low pond scum animals that would loot and burn and take baseball bats to windows and stand around with 38 stuffed in their belts with their pants hanging down below their butt.
Do animals abide by the law?
No, and that's my whole problem. You've got to get tough with these people. We are going to have a complete anarchy situation. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you?
Gary, real quick, what's going on?
Good program.
Thank you.
I think that had Mr. and Mrs. Brown insisted that a new picture of their son be shown on TV instead of when he was a sweet young boy of 12, and he probably was, but he was no longer the man that night when he robbed the store and got involved with this policeman. If Mr. and Mrs. Brown, instead of taking turkeys around to some of the needy, if they got on the TV and says, we have to change our own community, we need to take care of our sons and daughters, we got to make sure that they follow the law and that they have some morality and that they know the difference between right and wrong and get educated, then you'll see change, but not the way it's going now.
I absolutely agree with you, and I want to say this real quick. I'm almost out of time, Gary, and respond to what you said about this sweet young boy. This boy had grown into a huge man. He was 6'4", 6'3", in that area, 325 pounds. He was a punk and a thug that walked into a convenience store, looked at the manager and says, I don't care if you're behind the counter or not, and then a bunch of epitaphs against the owner, grabbed some cigarillos, walked out, swaggered down the street. This is a punk.
Well, absolutely, but they only showed the pictures of him when he was a different, probably, little boy who did look sweet and young at that age.
Absolutely, absolutely. Gary, call me when I don't have to be in such a rush. God bless you, man. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Don't forget your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations serving you for wintertime driving. Holy smokes, all 7 locations with all the traction tires, all the tires pinned for studs, all the chains, your snow chains, tire chains, all, of course, the best in brake service so that when you say, whoa, your automobile's going to mean it, and all the best in batteries and shocks and struts. Everything is right there at all 7 locations for safe wintertime driving. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Pole Line in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Caller, you've got exactly 30 seconds. Okay. I've got to run to the news right now from ABC. We'll be back with my buddy Dave Bigo from Indianapolis, Indiana, coming up at 9:06. God bless everybody. We'll see you in 6. Holy cow. That sounds good. 59 on Thanksgiving. A lot better than shivering to death like we have been. Good morning, I'm Zeb Bell, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers like Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal.
Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. That's what I say in the TV commercial, too. By golly, they're the best. Kelly and the crew, absolutely the best in service for residential and commercial needs. And if you need dumpsters to clean out the basement or the garage, they've got them in various sizes. All you have to do is give them a call, 734-6969. Absolutely the best in getting rid of your garbage. Call Western Waste Services again, 734-6969. Also, I want to remind you that in just a very few minutes, we're going to be visiting with a dear friend of ours that's been on this program many, many times in the past, and looking forward to his opinion on everything that's going on across our great U.S. of A. Dave Beagle will be here in just a moment. Don't forget Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, with our dear friend Joel Heward, the manager, with very, very flexible hours to serve you. They are there when you need them. And when you need them is now. Please remember that when there's the passing of a loved one, they will always serve you with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. And all you need to do is just call them at 436-5636. Write that number down, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary with Joel Heward and his staff at 710 6th Street in Rupert. Wonderful people. And by the way, too, talking about wonderful people, let's not forget our friends that sponsor the weather every day when we open up this program at about 8:07, Cheney Flooring and Home Design at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley, 678-6945, the number to call. And if you're over there on Oakley Avenue, look for their blue door, and they can help you with all your carpet and flooring, home decor, kitchen construction, everything. Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Look for the blue door at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and I consider this man not just a guest, he is a friend and has been for quite some time. And I say good morning to author, business owner, CEO. My goodness, the list of credentials goes on and on and on, and all around good guy, Dave Beagle. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, and thank you for the nice introduction, and hope your lovely wife's doing well.
She is doing better. Both of us, it was kind of a comical situation. Both of us spent the whole day in the hospital yesterday being poked and prodded, and we're home this morning, and we're enjoying a hot cup of coffee this morning, looking at each other, just hoping it didn't rain because we'd leak like a sieve.
But again, I hope you're doing well.
Oh, we are. Dave, I got to ask you first and foremost, this mess with the amnesty of 5 million people, this mess of not just 5 million, but the numbers could inflate and we could see bulk announcements of border crossings, this mess with being our infrastructure being taxed to the hilt right now of trying to take care of these people, housing and water and medicine and education. What kind of a mess did Obama put us in?
Well, I think he's trying to bring down the country, and I think this is a big step towards that because, as you know, and your listeners know, that we're already in huge debt across the country federally, and a lot of states and localities are, and this is just another way of him achieving his agenda of moving us towards socialism. And Jeb, I'm worried because Republicans don't seem to understand that they have to stand up and go after this guy, and they're too worried about getting elected down the road, and they need to fix things now.
Okay, now let's talk about that, because you're heavily involved in politics, and you've got many, many writings about what's going on in politics. Republican attitude. I was hoping that McConnell and Boehner and the rest of them would show a show of force, if you will, to let the Democrats know that they were the new sheriff in town, but it looks like it's going to be the same old, same old. What can we, the American public, do, if anything, to make them remember that we're the ones that are holding the matches?
Well, that's tough, Zeb, but all Americans, conservatives, need to get on the phones to these guys and put a lot of pressure on them and tell them they need to go after this president, go on the offensive, put the president on the defensive, close off the borders, defund his programs that will help make this, amnesty possible. I'd impeach him, and flood him with so many bills that he's just overwhelmed. He doesn't have time to do anything else but to defend himself. And we have to do it at the start of the state level. We got to get our governors involved. And I'm happy to say that Governor Pence here in Indiana came out earlier in this week, and the state of Indiana is going to file a lawsuit against this, and I understand a couple other states are looking at that too. You have to get with your state legislatures. Remember, we are a republic made up of 50 states, and the states need to stand up and go after this guy.
Dave, when you look at this situation as a businessman, with these people coming across our borders, the ones, let me more or less give a little bit of description as to what I'm looking for. There are probably good people coming across the border that are looking for a respite away from their taxing lives in a poverty-stricken country like Mexico or South America, and there are those that are coming here to better themselves. But there I draw the line. We have got to have an immigration program that is absolutely going to follow the rules. We don't have the jobs. We don't have the infrastructure. We don't have the housing. We don't have the water. We don't have anything as far as the educational money and tools right now to take care of all these people. America is teetering on the brink of disaster. Why can't some of these people see this?
Well, because, when it comes to the president and the Democrats, the liberal left, they see this as a good thing because they're all for seeing this country collapse and rebuilding it to socialism. Then they can make everybody the same, Zeb, because that's what they want. Everybody the same, then they can control them. And, the rest of the other side, the conservatives in that, we have to stand up and go after this guy and go after the left. And we have to educate the people out there. We need more politicians like Governor Walker in Wisconsin, who won against all odds in a very heavily unionized liberal state because he got out in front of these people when he talked to them about the truth that's going on and the hypocrisy of the president and the Democrats. It's like, let's just talk about wages for a minute. The president keeps pushing, let's raise the minimum wage. Mm-hmm. And, he makes a big deal out of that. It's the right thing to do. It's the fair thing to do and all that. But on the other hand, he's letting people come across the border that are taking American jobs and artificially lowering wages across the country because employers have to compete against other employers who are using undocumented workers and paying them under the table. And you have to go and expose this kind of stuff, and we need more people like him to stand up. And that's why I say we got to get our state legislators to do it. And the other thing is the U.S. House, Boehner, and the Senate, they need to, go to the president and put him on the spot and challenge him to a debate. Because what I found is when you challenge these guys like that to a debate, they go away, and we need to do this.
Your point's well taken, but where is the attitude of toughness, and why is this such a good old boy network? What can we possibly do? I don't care if Boehner and if McConnell want to get together with the president after hours and have a beer, but I don't want this buddy system to be hurting the American public. And what I'm saying is I'm sick and tired of everybody trying to get along. Maybe we need to have divisiveness and dissension to get something done for the American public.
Well, and Zeb, that's exactly what I'm advocating. I agree with you. But the only way we do it is your listeners on this show and conservatives across the country, it wasn't enough to vote these people, and now you got to go after them. Yeah. I had one of the members of the House call me late Friday and talk about Obama's amnesty program. He said, Dave, I'm sure you're not very happy. I said, you're right, I'm not very happy. And I said, what are you guys going to do about it? He said, well, I don't know, I said, see, that's the problem. You guys got to stop waffling, and you got to go on the offensive. It's that simple. And he's asked me to send him, my thoughts and what I think we should do, and I'm working on putting that together. But it's a lot of things I've just talked about on this program, because I found out when I fought the SEIU, the labor bosses, it was the same rhetoric, it was the same type of tactics, and the only way you can turn it around and win is to go after them and put them on the defensive and make them explain themselves and expose their lies and that. And Zeb, shows like yours across the country, we got to get people motivated to do that.
Absolutely. Dave, you hire a lot of people, but what is the jobs situation like in this country right now? I mean, when we're going to ask in 5 million, and you know that number could be inflated to 10 million or even close to 15 million people, and the borders are wide open and porous, where are the jobs and what are the jobs, Dave?
Well, it's really a strange thing going on, and just back to your numbers, they talk about 5.5 million that will be initially eligible on this. Think about that. That's, of course, a lot of that's kids, but how many jobs this administration's only created 6 million jobs over the past 6 years.
That's right.
So that's going to put a heck of a load on. But when you look at the jobs, there's a big shadow economy out there where undocumented workers are being hired, paying piecework or just a flat check during the week with no payroll taxes or FICA, PUTA, SUTA taken out, and they're taking jobs away from companies like mine. We've already lost 2 or 3 sizable contracts to people that are doing this, and it's sad that other businesses, number one, are doing this, but then other people are actually hiring them. The other side of it is, which is just as scary, is that we have such a entitlement program in this country. People don't want to work. They can stay home and be just fine. And they don't want jobs, especially with wages tumbling down the way they are because of the undocumented worker situation.
Dave, yesterday on my program, I had a professor from back at George Mason University on the East Coast, and his name was Ilya Soman. And he basically made one comment that made me want to jump right through the microphone. He said that he was absolutely in favor of open borders and open immigration because, quote unquote, everybody has a right to come here. Now, these are the people that are teaching our kids. These are the people that are talking in the classrooms about America and its values. No, nobody has the right to come here, Dave. We've got an immigration system, follow the rules, but not everybody in the world has the right to live here.
Well, that's exactly right, and we're a nation of laws, and I actually did a presentation on this a few years ago to the IFMA, International Facility Managers Association, where I walk through that kind of stuff that, it's costing us jobs, it's costing us money, it's lowering wages, and but the problem is, as I pointed out in my presentation, is that these academics, they have no basic experience in how to run a business or how the economy really works. All theirs is theoretical.
That's right.
And, is it nice? Do we want people across the world to do well? Absolutely. But we have to be a leader. We have to go out and do the things that make America great and do it that way, and then insist that the rest of the world follow us and not open our borders to destroy what we've done.
Dave, I've got to have you comment on this fiasco that took place in Ferguson, Missouri. I made the comments first hour, many comments about it, that it was absolutely, I thought, stupid and frivolous for the grand jury to make their announcement in the early evening hours to give these times to the people that prowl the evening and want to cause chaos and animal-like activities. I think it just absolutely should have been squashed down. I thought the National Guard should have been called in during the daylight hours yesterday and been ready to literally knock heads with these people so that they could disband and not cause problems of lootings and burnings. What are your thoughts about what took place in Ferguson, Missouri?
Well, I agree with you that the timing was not good, and they just gave people a chance together. And the real problem with this demonstration is a lot like the demonstrations, not as violent, where the unions pulled off against us. They had the whole city circle of Indianapolis filled with people and signs and people chanting and waving against us, and shame on EMS. EMS needs to be fair and all that kind of stuff. Again, there wasn't any violence, but this is all just like in our case, a big percentage of this is out-of-town groups coming in to stir up people. And in a lot of cases, they paid them, or they're a member of their organizations they bought from states a long way away. And this is just very, very radical people that are doing this. And you're right. The National Guard should have been in there and cordoned that thing off. And the news media, quite honestly, needs to tone it down because they add to this. These liberal groups that do this stuff know that they'll get on TV and further their cause in front of people, and that's what they're trying to do.
I agree with you on the news media. That's been a sore subject with me for a long time, the way they handle this. But then also you look at the likes of politicians and people that are very close to politicians, a man that has caused nothing but a vacuum as far as being worthwhile, and that's Al Sharpton. This man lives and breathes for chaos and burnings and lootings to feather his own nest, and that's Al Sharpton's modus operandi, especially knowing now that the man has been in the White House Oval Office conferring with Obama over 81 times in the last couple of years. This is very disconcerting.
Well, it is, and it just tells you where this president, where he sits on things, and again, and same with the unions. Andy Stern was in the White House 22 times the first year that he was in office, and he was the president of the SEIU, and I understand Stern's successor, she's been in there many times over the last several years. This guy is trying to radicalize this country. They don't believe in what this country stands for. And if you look at these people, none of these people have ever had to do anything to really make a living. They're doing it off of government and off of radical behavior in front of people, inciting people. And what I found, Zeb, when I fought the union bosses is they don't know how to go out and sell themselves. They don't know how to go out and do things the right way without being violent or, intimidating people. And that's why they revert to this, and that's why they think the world should be open to everybody.
Dave, is there any bright spot on the horizon for the next 2 years with this Obama administration and the Republicans? Have you talked to anybody that might be a ray of hope that maybe we can get things organized and start doing a little power play against Obama and some of his degenerative ideas like climate change, etc.? Is there anything you've heard that is a bright spot?
Well, Zeb, unfortunately, what I've heard is, the Republicans are going to play prevent defense, and you being a big football fan, you know how that works. And I haven't seen anybody really step forward. And even I told you I talked to the congressman on the phone Friday, and even up when I brought up some of this stuff, you could just tell from the tone of his voice that they're afraid to do these things. And we need people with backbone, and we need them out there fast. Like Governor Walker, I like the man, obviously. Mm-hmm. And the unions and the liberals do not want to see him on a national campaign because they know he does the right things. He goes after him. He plays the offensive. He gets in front of people and talks to them and tells them who he is, and he just disposes of the rhetoric of the left. And he does just a great job of taking the mask off these people. And somehow we got to find enough people in the House and Senate that we get this thing moving.
Dave, any new books or any new writings coming out that we can be aware of?
Not that I know of right now, Zeb. If I do, I will certainly let you know.
All right. I want to extend to you and your family the very, very best of Thanksgiving wishes and let you know how much we appreciate your friendship to this program. Dave Bego, the author of The Devil at Our Doorstep, The Devil at My Doorstep, and just a great speaker. And quite frankly, I hold you in the highest regard. Thank you for being on the program this morning.
Well, thank you, Zeb, and I hope you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and you get feeling better, and just relax and enjoy your weekend.
I will, sir. Thank you very much. Indianapolis, Indiana, Dave Bigo, and always a pleasure to have him on the program. Thank you very, very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Dale over at Whipple's Book Plaza says, come on down. They've got what they call the new 50% department. Everything in that department is 50% off. Wow! Books and jewelry and decorating items, 50% off in that 50% department. And they've got new items for the holidays coming in every day. Colonel Dale and the crew have created also a new children's book department and have expanded the music department. They're busy at 222 West 11th Street in Burley. Colonel Dale of Whipple's Book Plaza, nicest man you'd ever want to meet. You stop over to the Book Plaza today. Also, we've got some people that want to wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. And let's turn the page and we'll say Burley Glass, 1029 Overland in Burley with Gentle Ben and the crew. Oh, get rid of those old windows and be snuggy and warm this winter with the new Western windows in your home or office. Burley Glass, 1029 Overland Avenue in Burley. Number to call Gentle Ben and the crew, 678-1459. And Sandy Sewing Center, what a nice lady at 1029, no, that's wrong, 1234. Hey, Zeb, Sandy Sewing Center, 1234 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And a gigantic selection of fabric and all the sewing machine needs. She can fix your sewing machine needs too, by the way. And she also has a huge selection of Mountain House quality food storage products right there at Sandy Sewing Center, 1234 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And last but not least, Easy Money Pawn and Auto at 200 Overland Avenue in Burley. And they're having that Christmas toy drive. Bring in an unwrapped toy and enter your name to win one of 3 packages, the Sportsman's Package, Entertainment Package, or Automobile Package. Whoa, you might be the lucky winner at Easy Money Pawn and Auto, 200 Overland in Burley. And all those businesses wish you and yours a very happy Thanksgiving. Nice people. Oh, in just a few minutes, we're going to have one of my favorite people on the air, and that's, of course, Brian Fairchild. And nobody knows more about the mess we're in worldwide with ISIS and terrorism than he does, a former CIA operative, and we're going to have him on the air in just a moment. By the way, are you ready for some outside fun in the wintertime? Yep, get all the gear, all the accessories, and then get on your snow machine and vroom, vroom, away you go up into the Angel Dandruff. I'll tell you what. Let's ride 270 Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. This is where the fun is sold. Absolutely. They've got all the clothing and the accessories and great place to go Christmas shopping and great low interest rates right now, like I said, on the snow machines, and also now's a great time to be buying an ATV for next year. And the people, they will treat you right. They've got something there for everybody at Let's Ride, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Yep, that's where the fun is sold at Let's Ride. Oh, and by the way, too, our friends and my dear friend and yours, Dean Cameron and Todd Siemens, Cameron Siemens Insurance. When you think about life insurance, and we all should, and you think about health insurance, and we all should, retirement planning, employee benefits, you better talk about Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call for an appointment to visit with these very, very devoted gentlemen to helping you is 436-4424. 436-4424. Cameron and Siemens Insurance, serving you. Let's go to the phone lines right now and have my dear friend Brian Fairchild on the air. And good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing just fine, Jeb. How are you doing today?
Such a treat to have you on the air this morning. Thank you very much for all your time. Brian, you're just so knowledgeable and so articulate about what's going on in the world today. Let me start off by asking you this. I remember the last time you were on the program, we were talking about all the scandals and everything going on with the Obama administration, which have a tendency to shadow what's really going on in the world. Well, right now we've got another mess, and it's in Ferguson, Missouri, and it's spread across this nation with looting and violence and burning, and it always seems to cover up or shelter the Obama administration in their lack of doing something or their involvement in something. Am I wrong?
No, I don't think you're wrong, and I think that excuse me, Zeb. I think that you've got a great point, and there are aspects of Ferguson that nobody's really focused on yet, Zeb. That I sort of wanted to bring out here, talking to you.
Okay.
I don't mean to switch subjects on you, though. I mean, I do believe there are problems in Iran. And, there are problems with Chuck Hagel being dismissed and all of these problems within the administration. And, of course, the president was on TV last night, talking about Ferguson. So, I mean, I think you're exactly right that, the shadows, a lot of stuff going on. But if I may, let me just mention a couple things about Ferguson. Is that
absolutely, okay? Please.
Well, one of the things that I'm so sorry, I must be having allergies or something here, but one of the things that people haven't addressed about Ferguson is that the jihadis are very much interested in what's going on in Ferguson. Now, the Islamic State in Syria and Iraq have put out on their Twitter accounts exhortations for lone wolf attacks in Ferguson, for burning down Ferguson, for weakening America through Ferguson and other types of situations like that in cities around the United States. And also the Council on American Islamic Relations, several other domestic Muslim organizations, and what they call the Palestine contingent, which is made up of Council on American Islamic Relations and several other American Muslim organizations, have been basically trying to take over the organization of the demonstrations in Ferguson through conference calls and exhortations and incitements and so forth and so on. Now, this is something that I think that you probably have not seen reported, that your listeners probably have not heard, and hopefully the police and the FBI are understanding that this is going on, and that investigations of the violence will include at least a look at the Council on American Islamic Relations and any kind of connection to ISIS, the Islamic State. So I just wanted to mention that to you and your listeners.
I'm glad you brought that up, Brian. So you're telling me that possibly, or very probably, with your vast information and knowledge, that these groups are looking at different chaotic events across our country, basically to help their cause, right?
Oh, definitely. In fact, I've got on my screen here a couple of the Twitter statements from ISIS accounts, the Islamic State accounts. In one, they're saying, "Oh, the lone mujahid, the lone wolf. You must exploit the turmoil in Ferguson to set more fire in America. Send them to hell." In another Twitter statement, it says, "Ferguson is a golden opportunity that will not return. Wake up and occupy them with the mujahideen and spill their blood in the roads and neighborhoods."
Oh, my.
So if that doesn't give you a pretty direct indication of how they feel about Ferguson and taking advantage of that kind of chaos to further weaken the United States, I don't know what should.
Brian,
they're very direct about it.
Let me ask you this question, and again, with your vast knowledge, I'm fairly naive about all this and have not studied it nearly as much as you have. But when you look at situations like what's going on in Ferguson, and you look at the looters and the chaotic events that are taking place, the burnings, etc., all seem to be pushed by outsiders, all seem to be pushed, quite frankly, by the likes of people like Al Sharpton and others. Why? Why the disruptive attitude that's going to cause and create more hardship for their own personal communities?
Well, of course, there's the whole politics of race. And, of course, we've seen, our senior officials, including Eric Holder and the president, participating in the politics of race for years now.
Right.
When you have guys like Al Sharpton is, I mean, that's his career. His career is, and the stakes in his career are to have racial tension in the United States. Without racial tension, there's no reason for Al Sharpton. So I think, that's one aspect of it. The new Black Panther Party is very active down in Ferguson. And then there's this aspect of the Muslim dimension and I can't tell your listeners that I have, specific intelligence that indicates that any of these acts of violence have been, spurred on. Well, I can tell you that the Muslim organizations have incited violence. Mm-hmm. Whether they're organized in it, I can't. But it would not surprise me because that is the MO of the modus operandi of the Muslim Brotherhood and of, different Palestinian groups in Gaza and the West Bank. So, I think that the politics of race is taking place right before our eyes. And I think that the bad guys, the bad guys in as much as the Islamist radicals, certainly, enjoy seeing what's happening in Ferguson at the very least, and may possibly be organizing some of those acts of violence or instigating those acts of violence themselves.
Brian, I said in the first hour, and I want to get your opinion on this, that the police, and pardon the verbiage, the police, National Guard, and all those behind the badge of the law are basically fighting with one arm behind their back because they are damned if they do, damned if they don't. If they use any force at all to quell or quash these people that are causing the problems, somebody's going to turn right around and file suits for police brutality. They are in a no-win situation back there.
Oh, absolutely. And think of the poor, these poor cops and firemen in Ferguson. They are right in the middle of a political hotspot. They had the President of the United States, on TV addressing their situation last night. Right. They have Eric Holder conducting an investigation on them. It's as highly political as can be, and we've heard, for going on 3 months now that they've been preparing, the cops in the fire department have been preparing for riots that were fully expected. And yet we don't see the National Guard deployed, and we don't see, much activity by the police. A few arrests here and there. They're very much, wanting to be restrained. But then what signal does that send to others in other cities?
Absolutely.
And, why don't we just all sit back and just watch cities burn and not have police forces or fire departments go and try to do anything? It's a strange situation, and my heart goes out to to everybody, and all the people of Ferguson who mean well, and the police department and the fire department. But these guys have their hands tied, and everything they do is being scrutinized.
So, to sum up a little bit about this mess in Ferguson, Brian, as much as you know and understand the internal politics of this mess, you would say that these internal unrest problems, whether it's in Ferguson, whether it's in Chicago, St. Louis, L.A., whatever, are all welcomed by the people that would love to wage a jihad against us, and they might even be encouraging these people. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That is my point. That is my basic point, and that's there's no doubt that the Council on American Islamic Relations and other American Muslim organizations have been active and organizing in Ferguson for since the shooting of Michael Brown. That is a fact. That's not speculation. It's a fact that they have been seeking, in my estimation, that they have been seeking to control the organization of the riots and the responses to whether there was an indictment or not from the grand jury. That is a fact. They've had conference calls where they've had 100 people join in their conference calls during which they've incited violence and talked about how the police are the number one violent force in the United States and how police are looking to target black men and so forth and so on. So the Muslim organizations have absolutely been active down there. My estimation is that they've been trying to co-opt the racial politics and the racial divide in Ferguson in order to incite more violence. And then what would happen is exactly what you say. By firing shots, by burning buildings, you create a situation where the police have to respond. If the police respond too heavily, then they get it documented on film and phones and so forth that there's police brutality, and then that adds to continuing problems around the country. So that's my take on the whole situation.
Well, Brian, when you look at these rabid dogs, and that's what they were. I mean, they were absolutely looking for any excuse to come in and break windows and steal and burn and loot and the attacks on various other people. How does the right prevail in a situation like that where internally, right now, the United States is a powder keg, not even counting what's happening over in the Middle East or Iran or anywhere else? How are we going to ever get this thing back on an even keel with a responsibility factor, a right and right, a wrong and wrong? How are we going to change this?
Boy, yeah, there's a tall order, Zeb. I don't know. I mean, there has to be. There has to be common sense discussion. There has to be an understanding, for instance, that a lot of the people in Ferguson, are not the ones that are rioting.
Right.
A lot of the people that are rioting are these outside groups.
Exactly.
There needs to be a focus on that. I mean, what they want, of course, is for everybody to say, oh, well, this is just, black on white, and it's just race, and, America's a terrible place. But the majority of the people in Ferguson aren't saying that. But these outside agitators are the ones that have come in and are burning buildings and firing shots and so forth and so on. That puts it into a whole different paradigm. I mean, that's a whole different model. So, first of all, we have to have a very good understanding of what's going on in Ferguson, who is behind the violence. I mean, we've been hearing the authorities in Ferguson themselves talking about outside agitators, but they make these comments about outside agitators and then move on like, okay, I mentioned it, that's all I've got to do.
Yeah.
Well, no, we've got to investigate it. We have to understand who the outside agitators are, what their motivations are, why they're doing this, and then hold them to account. And, and if there are folks from Ferguson that are going along with them, well, then they have to be held to account too. But you can't just whitewash it and say, well, this is a political hot potato, so we're just going to show restraint and not really go after these people, because that's just a recipe for disaster in the 83 other cities that these folks have already scheduled demonstrations in.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
That's one aspect of it anyway, Zeb.
Brian, I want to bring up another aspect of Ferguson that also dovetails into Iran and some other subjects, but I'm going to ask your indulgence. We're going to have our weather forecast with Michael Rogers Weather, about 30 seconds worth, and we'll be right back with more Brian Fairchild in just a moment. And now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers is at the ranch. It's rain today, and it's going to kick in around before 11 o'clock. 53 for the high, and we're going to throw in some breezy conditions, too, as the winds out of the southwest, 22. Possibly gusting as high as 36 miles an hour for today. Once the rain dies down later on tonight, look for an overnight low at 35. And Wednesday and Thanksgiving, it's going to be really nice. Mostly sunny, temperatures in the mid-50s. Enjoy the weather. So whether you got it.
Thank you, Michael. And, of course, don't forget what's going on with your Burley Area Merchants Association. Oh, my goodness. All the great local stores encouraging you to shop locally and save money. And don't forget, be a part of their great big Christmas tradition next Monday, the annual Burley Christmas Light Parade. Entries are going to gather at door Shack School at 5:30. The parade starts at 6, and Santa's going to turn the lights on, and by golly, he's going to be in his house at Centennial Park. And free hot chocolate and donuts and cookies, all of this and more through your Burley Area Merchants Association. Be a part of it, Bama, and thank you very much for helping the Christmas tradition in Burley. We're on the air with a dear friend of mine, Brian Fairchild. Brian, I was listening to attorneys, a couple of attorneys discuss what's going on in Ferguson. And 3 of the attorneys, they were all 3 black. One had common sense attitude about what's going on. One had a common sense attitude about what needs to be done. The other 2 basically had a racist attitude of, after the non-indictment, one of them said, Whitey wins again. And, you know, I was highly offended because their verbiage from that point on in the interview was that the white race always gets their way and they're always downtrodding the black race, etc. They forget what happened back in the 80s with the O.J. Simpson trial.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, it's just, it's sad because we've made such great strides in this country. You know, I'm 63 years old, and I've seen a lot of, you know, changes happen in this country. And, you know, there are a lot of good changes. You know, race is not perfect. There's always going to be, you know, some aspect of racism no matter where you are in whatever country you're in. But we've made great strides here, and it's just kind of sad to me to see that there are people who stake their, you know, that make their profession, you know, inciting racial divisions within the United States. And then it bothers me that, you know, the top leadership of the United States government goes along with that. You know, and, you know, even statements, you know, irregardless of statements that, well, you know, it's not a big problem everywhere, but there's certain little pockets. Well, you know, that to me is just kind of a different kind of incitement. And it seems to me that you know, folks are, the whole political correctness thing has taken over too, Zeb. I mean, you've got people who don't want to come and vigorously defend, you know, the civil rights record in the United States because then they're called racist. It's like, well, how can you say that? We just had Michael Brown killed, and the next thing you know, you're off into that again, rather than having a common sense discussion on, you know, race and the advancement of, you know, of blacks in the United States, and, you know, it just goes on and on, Zeb. It's very disheartening sometimes.
One final thought here this morning, and I would just love to do a complete hour on the radio with you someday and just pick your brain on these various thoughts. But before you go, I have got to ask you about your concerns with Secretary of State John Kerry and the attitude that they're purveying with the Iranians. It almost looks like they're basically trying to roll over like a rug and let Iran walk on them. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think that's a good description, Zeb. I think that the president has done so poorly in foreign affairs that the United States has fallen so precipitously from, you know, its leadership role in the United States that the president is desperate to have something he can point to and say he's had a foreign policy success. And he's staked his administration and his reputation on getting a deal with Iran. And we are bending over backwards, you know, trying to appease Iran, and Iran is laughing at us. You know, and the whole dynamics in the Middle East, Zeb, have completely changed from just the beginning of the Obama administration. There is, I mean, it's changed so drastically that I'm sure you remember, and all your listeners remember, that there was a time when the Middle East was aligned against Israel.
Yep.
Now it's the opposite. Now you've got Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, Bahrain, Kuwait, you know, joining with Israel in, you know, together, working in cooperation with Israel, because they can't depend on the United States, don't trust the United States, and see that the United States is allowing their enemy, their nemesis in the Middle East, Iran, to go nuclear. And every time, you know, we get close to having this deal and everybody says, well, the Iranians haven't met the requirements for the deal, we just say, well, we'll give you more time. We'll give you more time to fool us, more time to develop your centrifuges, more time to develop your nuclear capability. And so the whole Middle East has turned against the United States and is cooperating amongst themselves, including Israel, because they can't trust and depend on the United States anymore. And that's pretty much the situation that we're in.
Well, let me ask you one final thought here on this. I don't trust anything to do with anyone, any country over in the Middle East, except our ally Israel. But even if Iran agrees that they're going to halt their nuclear program and they're going to guarantee that they're going to follow through on all their promises, we don't have a guarantee that's going to hold any water. It's like a sieve. That water's going to empty right out through the bottom of the bucket. Why should these people honor their agreements when they absolutely are demanding to have a nuclear program?
Oh, I think my personal opinion, Zeb, is that the nuclear capability of Iran is a given. I mean, I think that it's gone too far. Even if Israel should mount a surprise attack and go after Iran, I think that they've probably gotten their weapons program aspects of their weapons program so well hidden that there's no way at this point we can probably wipe that out. So I think it's just basically a given, and it's all eye candy now. It's all eyewash as to whether you can get the Iranians to sign some agreement that indicates that somehow, somewhere, maybe someday, they'll be good and everything will be fine. But basically, as far as the foreign policy establishment is concerned, most people I know just consider Iran to basically be a nuclear power now. And that's going to have major repercussions in the Middle East, the alignments that I just mentioned, but also Saudi Arabia, I think, is seriously considering going nuclear itself and aligning itself with, the talent to do so. And a nuclear arms race in the Middle East, as unstable as that situation is not going to be good for anybody anywhere in the world. So
absolutely.
I think it's already a done thing, and now it's just eyewash as far as getting Iran to sign some kind of an agreement, so that so the administration can walk away saying, "See, I did it."
All I can say to you is, my friend, you're always welcome on this program. You do a wonderful job, and from my house to yours, we want to extend to you the very best of Thanksgiving wishes. God bless you, my friend, and we'll look forward to the next time of having you on the air. Thank you so much, Brian Fairchild.
Thank you, Zeb, and happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, sir. Take care. Thank you. Wow. I mean, that man's knowledge, his vast knowledge of what's going on all over the world is absolutely astounding, and I really appreciate his remarks. Former CIA operative Brian Fairchild, thank you so much. We got to pay some bills. Yes. Hey, what is this I've been handed? Holy cow. At Lease Furniture, Floors and More, a 36-hour sale pre-Black Friday event. That's right, unbelievable doorbuster savings. Well, I'm looking at some of these prices, and I can't believe it. I can't believe it. They've got queen mattress sets starting at just $3.99, and they've got a recliner. My goodness sakes, some of the recliners at just $2.99, and some of the sofas at $3.99. What? You better get in there today at Lease Furniture, Floors and More. 459 Overland and Burley. Furniture, mattresses, accessories, floor covering, all the window coverings. Wow. Biggest savings, best values on everything for your home at Lease Furniture, Floors and More. You stop in and see them today. Man, you can really save some money there. You better get in there right now. Also, let me see what else have I got to tell you about here real quick. Oh, yes, and that's, of course, our friends at Quali's Electronics. I know this family. I know Bruce, the old race car driver, and they said, hey, we are going to have something special this year. We're going to have a Black Friday sale all this week. You don't have to wait till Friday. You can get in there right now, today for their Black Friday sale. And listen to this. Check out a Samsung 46-inch smart LED TV, $429. That's $170 saving. I'm not kidding. And you better check out like the Samsung 32-inch LED TV was. It's now $199. You can save $70. Oh my goodness. Black Friday sale going on all week at Quali's Electronics, easy to find on Kimberly Road, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. They're waiting at Quali's Electronics to serve you right now. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, and the same to you and Mary. Thank you so much.
It'll be a good one.
I appreciate it.
One question for you. Now, since Homeland Security came on the scene, I believe that Posse Comitatus has been taken off the books. And if that it did happen, this would give Barack Obama military control over this country.
I am very afraid, Tony, of the circumstances like in Ferguson and other areas to where all of a sudden they could be incited and inflamed to the point where he could just absolutely make the declaration of martial law. I think we're just a hair's trigger away from having that happen in this country. My fears are the same as yours.
Yes, well, it's a big concern. I just recently found out about this Posse Comitatus.
Yeah. There is nothing, and I underline that word nothing, there is nothing that I think this man would not do to stimulate more control and power. I have said many, many times, and I can be criticized, I've got big shoulders. I do not trust this man. I'm prejudiced against him and his ideology, and I absolutely am very wary of everything he's trying to perpetrate.
Well, we've got Jesse Jackson now sharpening in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood. And, of course, we've got all these training camps around here, the Muslim terrorist training camps. And when the right time comes, we're going to get hit.
I agree, Tony. God bless you, man, for your call. I appreciate it.
Okay,
thank you. By the way, before I forget, don't forget the Chadwick Sports Grill. Why, old Dr. History, you'll find him sitting over there most of the time at 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, my goodness, today, listen to what they've got. A pork shepherd pie with veggies and super salad for just $8.95. It's going to be delicious. It is delicious. All the menu items are delicious. You're going to love the people, the atmosphere, the environment of the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. And again today, the pork shepherd pie. It's good at the Chadwick Sports Grill. We're going to get ready to take a little break here for about 6 minutes, and coming up after the break with ABC News will be Dr. History, and so you stay tuned. Zeb at the Ranch, we'll see you in 6. I better say something. Gina's going to get nervous. Good morning, hour number 3, Zeb at the Ranch. On Tuesday, November 25 on the calendar, and welcome back. And we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Get rid of your garbage. Call 734-6969. We are going to have the great, illustrious, knowledgeable, absolute, perfect gentleman, Dr. Ken Turner, on as Dr. History in just a few minutes, and we have duct taped him to the chair. So stand by for that. Hey, don't forget the bookstore at 515 5th Street over in Rupert. Oh my goodness, the bookstore is going to be closing at 1 o'clock on November 26th to prepare for Thanksgiving Day. Then they're going to be closed on Thanksgiving, but oh my, are they going to open up with a vengeance to serve you on November 28th from 5 to 8:30 p.m. right before the fireworks display with the best of religious artwork and Christmas decor and books and jewelry. Oh, what a great store. What nice people at the bookstore and more. 515 5th Street in Rupert. Really good folks. Oh, my. Well, I think it is time to say good morning to the one, the only Dr. History. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Zeb.
Now, I've got to pass along a message. Over at the main studios, Gina, and she's known as Miss 357, she said something about maybe she's going to shoot you if you keep moving. So I've got him sitting perfectly still. I have duct taped his torso to the chair. Good morning, sir. How are you?
Good morning.
It's good to have you back.
Thanks for the duct tape.
Are you telling me you're so cheap that you're going to unwind it and use it at home?
Yeah, I'm going to take it home with me.
Oh, Ken, you're all right. Hey, now you have some information for us.
I had an assignment from you last week when you asked me about Wild Bill, and I had that deer in the headlights look I don't know, and now I know.
Okay. I had asked you the question as to if Wild Bill was, his real name was James Butler Hickok. How in the world did he come up with the name Bill? So you have that.
Okay. According to the experts on the internet, we know they're always right.
Okay.
Okay. When he was in Nebraska, he was actually referred to as Duck Bill.
Wait a minute, Duck Bill?
Duck Bill.
Like in quack, quack?
Quack, quack. Now, that doesn't put a lot of fear into your heart.
Can you imagine the people over in China listening to this, and one of our heroes is going down as Duck Bill?
Duck Bill, yeah.
Duck Bill.
Okay, so he grew a mustache, and in 1861 began calling himself Wild Bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
was this a reference to the size of his nose? He had a big nose.
He did, and maybe it was the mustache. I don't know.
Oh.
But he claimed that his nickname until 1861 had been Shanghai Bill, that had been given to him because of his height and his slim build.
I see.
Now, Hickok used the name William Hickok from 1858 and William Haycock during the Civil War.
Why did they change their names so much?
You know, it just seems like that's something that happened back in those days. I mean, the people that came over from Europe, of course, they had foreign names, and a lot of times those got changed around.
Oh, you know, let me bring everybody up to speed. Wild Bill originally was called Duck Bill, and then he was called Shanghai Bill, but then he finally came up with the nomer Wild Bill.
Wild Bill, but there's a little question as to whether his name was Haycock instead of Hickok.
Oh, really?
But according to what I'm reading, his real name was Hickok.
Okay.
James Hickok. So that takes care of that.
Tomato.
Yes.
Okay. So anyway, Duck Bill. You know, now wait a minute. That makes a lot of sense, because if you've ever seen a picture of Wild Bill Hickok, he had a pretty good Jimmy Durante schnozola on him.
That could have contributed to that
the Duck Bill name.
Yes.
Okay. And then, of course, his descendants are all Duck Dynasty.
Yes. Dressed in the camo.
There you go. What have you got for us today?
Well, being as this week is Thanksgiving, I like to tell a little of the history of Thanksgiving. And
I like that.
So we're just going to jump right into that.
Okay.
Thanksgiving Day, of course, is a holiday celebrated primarily in the United States and Canada, mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And Thanksgiving is celebrated each year on the second Monday in October in Canada, and on the fourth Thursday of November in the United States.
Why couldn't they celebrate it on the same day?
I don't know that answer to that question.
There's a deer in the headlights again.
There he goes. But because of the long-standing traditions of the holiday, the celebration often extends, of course, into the weekend that falls closest to the day that is celebrated. Now, several other places around the world observe similar celebrations historically, but Thanksgiving had its roots in religious and cultural tradition. And today, Thanksgiving is primarily celebrated, unfortunately, as a secular holiday, and of course the Black Friday thing and all that.
Oh, it's terrible.
Was
it started here or up in Canada? Which one started it?
Well, according to what I'm going to talk about, what happened, how it started here in the United States, or in America. But prayers of Thanksgiving and special Thanksgiving ceremonies are common among almost all religions after harvest and at other times. The Indians, they celebrated different things, but the holiday's history in North America is rooted in English traditions dating from the Protestant Reformation. It also has aspects of a harvest festival, even though the harvest in New England occurs well before the late November date of the holiday. Now, in the Old English tradition, days of Thanksgiving Thanksgiving and special Thanksgiving religious services became important during the English Reformation in the reign of King Henry VIII. And we're going to go clear back to there, but in reaction to the large number of religious holidays on the Catholic calendar. Now, get this, before 1536 there were 95 church holidays plus 52 Sundays, and people were required to attend church and skip work and sometimes pay for these expensive holidays. So 95 holidays, 52 Sundays, that's a lot out of a work year.
Wow. Yeah, and those services didn't last just an hour.
No, they went all day.
Oh, my goodness.
You know, the 1536 reforms reduced the number of church holidays to 27, but some Puritans, the radical reformers of their age, they wanted to completely eliminate all church holidays, including Christmas and Easter.
Why?
I don't know. The Puritans, for some reason, I guess they wanted... for some reason, I don't know, they just wanted to eliminate all church holidays.
Really?
Yeah. Huh. So the holidays were to be replaced by especially called days of fasting or days of Thanksgiving. So instead of a church holiday, it was like a day of Thanksgiving.
So everybody went to church and was hungry and their stomach growled all the way through the service.
Yes.
Okay.
So, but, you know, these special blessings of Thanksgiving were viewed as coming from God, and they called for days of Thanksgiving after, like, say, a battle victory or a political victory, something like that.
Right.
Now, we're going to move ahead a few hundred years.
Okay.
After the 1500s, up to 1621. Now, the Plymouth colonists and the Wampanoag Indians.
Yes.
Keep those guys in mind.
Remember them well.
Okay. They shared an autumn harvest feast that is acknowledged today as one of the first Thanksgiving celebrations in the colonies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, for more than 2 centuries, days of Thanksgiving were celebrated by individual colonies and states, and it wasn't until 1863, in the middle of the Civil War, that Abraham Lincoln proclaimed a national Thanksgiving Day to be held each November.
I see.
So let's go again back to about 1620, September.
The Wampanoags.
The Wampanoags and a small ship called the Mayflower.
Yep.
Left Plymouth, England. And by the way, Zeb, I have visited that place in Plymouth.
You told me, you called me, as a matter of fact, the day that you were visiting that.
Yeah, I was in England and Plymouth.
You were standing on the rock.
The rock in Plymouth.
Yeah.
Well, we may be exaggerating there a little bit, but
maybe a little bit.
Okay. But so the Mayflower left carrying 102 passengers, an assortment of religious separatists seeking a new home where they could freely practice their faith, and there were other people lured by the promise of prosperity and basically free land in the New World.
Yep.
Well, after a pretty treacherous and uncomfortable crossing that lasted 66 days, now,
and it was cold.
It was cold, and you know, I've been out on the ocean, and 66 days on a sailing boat, I would have not been feeling real good.
And they didn't have an all-you-could-eat salad bar either.
No, and they didn't have Dramamine and stuff like that.
No.
But anyway, so they dropped anchor near the tip of Cape Cod, actually north of their intended destination, at the mouth of the Hudson River.
I see.
So 1 month later, the Mayflower crossed Massachusetts Bay, where the Pilgrims, as they are now commonly known, began the work of establishing a village at Plymouth.
John Wayne didn't name them, did he?
He did not name them.
I see.
No.
Okay.
So now, through that first brutal winter, most of the colonists remained on board the ship.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because they really didn't have any shelters or homes.
They left at the wrong time, didn't they?
They did.
Yeah.
And they suffered from exposure, scurvy, and because they were so close together, outbreaks of contagious diseases.
Yeah.
So only half of the Mayflower's original passengers and crew lived to see their first New England spring.
Oh, my goodness.
So they lost half of them.
Yeah.
Well, in March, the remaining settlers moved ashore, where they received an astonishing visit from an Indian who greeted them in English. Do you know his name, Zeb?
It started with a Q.
Close.
Squanto. I knew it had a Q in there someplace.
SQ.
Good old Squanto.
And he was a member of the Pawtucket tribe he had been kidnapped by an English sea captain, sold into slavery before escaping to London and returning to his homeland in an exploratory expedition.
He was a smart guy.
He was. And I'm going to talk a little more about him in a minute. So, but Squanto taught the Pilgrims, weakened by malnutrition and illness, he taught him how to cultivate corn, extract sap from maple trees, catch fish in the rivers, and which plants to avoid that were poisonous.
Didn't these people have any clue on how to farm at all? I mean, they just jump on a ship and come over here and they're going, wonder what we should do next.
You know, they seem ill-prepared.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So, but he helped the settlers forge an alliance with the Wampanoag, which was a local tribe, which would actually endure for more than 50 years and tragically remains one of the sole examples of harmony between the Europeans and the Indians, one of the very few.
The Wampanoags?
Yeah.
Okay.
So, in November 1621, after the Pilgrims' first corn harvest proved successful, Governor William Bradford organized a feast and invited a group of the colony's Indian allies, including the Wampanoag chief, Massasoit. And this is now remembered as America's first Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Now, although the Pilgrims themselves may not have used the term at the time, the festival lasted for 3 days, and no records exist of the historic banquet's exact menu, but there was a chronicler, a guy that wrote about this, and he said that Governor Bradford sent 4 men on a fowling mission in preparation for the event, and that the Wampanoag guests arrived bearing 5 deer. Historians have suggested that many of the dishes were likely prepared using traditional Indian spices and cooking methods.
Really?
So most of the cooking was done by the Indians.
Yatahe.
Yes. I think that's Navajo.
No, okay.
But because of the Pilgrims had no oven and the Mayflower's sugar supply had dwindled by the fall of 1621, the meal did not feature pies, cakes, desserts, which are pretty much...
No pecan pie?
No pecan pies, no pumpkin pies.
I'd have left and gone back to the ship.
Yeah, so... But, the wild turkey is native to North America.
Now, just a minute. You're talking about the turkey or the liquid?
The liquid... that turkey.
Don't let it go over your head, Doc.
The wild bird turkey.
You should have seen the look on his face.
You lost me on that one for a minute. So the wild turkey is native to North America and was a staple in the diet of the Indians. And it was imported to Europe in the early part of the 16th century by the Spaniards.
I see.
So... Anyway, there's about 45 million or so turkeys that will be sold this Thanksgiving, but they don't taste like the turkeys they had back then.
How do you know?
Because that's what it says right here in my script. And actually, I've talked to people that have hunted wild turkeys here now, and they say they just don't taste
as good
as a good old farm-grown turkey.
Well, now I'm supposed to keep remembering the Wampanoags.
I'm getting right to that right now.
Okay.
A little more about Squanto. His name was Tisquantum, but somehow he got the name Squanto.
Well, can you blame him?
No, that's a lot easier to say. But he was a Pawtucket, and he was an Indian who assisted the Pilgrims, of course, as I mentioned. But Squanto's exact date of birth is unknown, but a lot of historians list it as January 1st, 1592.
I see.
Now, on his way back to the Pawtucket in 1614, Squanto was kidnapped by an Englishman named Thomas Hunt. Now, Hunt was one of John Smith's lieutenants. Hunt was planning to sell fish, corn, and Squanto and some other captured natives back in Spain.
Why would they want to capture Squanto when he already helped them so much?
Well, this is before.
Oh.
This is before he came back and helped them.
Okay.
So, anyway, when he got over to Spain, Hunt attempted to sell Squanto and a number of the other Indians into slavery in Spain.
Oh.
So, at this point, there were some local friars that discovered what Hunt was attempting, and they took Squanto and the Indians, and in order to instruct them in the Christian faith, and they convinced the friars to let him try to return home. Squanto did.
Back to
America.
I see.
So he managed to get to London, where he lived with and worked for a few years with a guy named John Slaney, who was a shipbuilder.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Slaney apparently taught Squanto more English. Slaney took Squanto with him when he sailed to Newfoundland, and then to get to New England, Squanto tried to take part in an expedition to that part of the North American coast. Well,
that's amazing.
Yeah, that plan fell through, but he did return to England in 1618, and at last in 1690, Squanto returned to his homeland aboard John Smith's ship because he was joining an exploratory expedition along the New England coast.
Boy, you said that very articulately.
Thank you. But he soon discovered that the Pawtucket, as well as a majority of the coastal New England tribes, mostly the Wampanoag, had been killed off the year before by an epidemic, probably smallpox.
Brought in by
the Europeans.
Yeah.
I mean, and we've talked about this before, the Native Americans did not have immunity to these European diseases.
No.
So anyway, Squanto finally settled with the Pilgrims at the site of his former village, which the English had named Plymouth. And it is commonly held belief that he, of course, helped them recover from that really, really difficult first winter by teaching them how to plant and how to plant corn.
That amazes me. I'm still stuck on that as to why the Pilgrims. And by the way, how did they get the name Pilgrims?
John Wayne, I believe, gave that to him.
Yeah, but that was in the 1860s in a movie, El Dorado. But
I have no idea where they got the word pilgrim, unless that has a maybe there's is defined as
there's your homework for next week.
There it is.
Pilgrims.
Okay. Yeah, pilgrim.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you would think that they would have looked at the calendar and said, if we leave in March and it's going to take 66 days, we'll be there at the beginning of May when it warms up and we can plant. And you would have thought there would have been some kind of a farmer in the midst of them.
Well, you would have thought.
Yeah.
And whatever the reason, they had difficulty.
They were in a mess.
They were.
Yeah.
So in 1621, Squanto was the guide and translator for the settlers, and as they traveled upland on diplomatic missions to the Wampanoags, anyway, things got a little rough for Squanto. He got captured by the Wampanoag Indians.
Not again.
Was his tribe. Now, Miles Standish led a 10-man team of settlers from Plymouth to rescue Squanto, if he were still alive, or if he'd been killed, they were going to avenge him. But Squanto was found alive and well, and he was welcomed back by the Pilgrims at Plymouth, where he continued his role as kind of an adversary between the Indians and the Pilgrims. But unfortunately, he ended up being distrusted by both groups.
Really?
And
so he was trying to work both sides to the middle.
Well, I think he really was trying to help both.
Yeah.
But because of that, the Indians didn't trust him and the Pilgrims didn't really trust him.
Pretty rough when you get kidnapped by your own tribe.
That's right. Well, anyway, on his way back from a meeting to repair damaged relations between the Wampanoag and the Pilgrims, Squanto became sick with a fever. He began bleeding from the nose, and some historians have speculated that he was poisoned by the Wampanoag because they believed that he'd been disloyal.
I read some accounts of his life and everything, and tell me if I'm wrong, but he was a very, very dashing man. He dressed in very eloquent fashion and wore tuxedos and suits and everything. Is that right?
I haven't read that part.
Yeah, I read that part. See, I'm way ahead of you.
Yes.
Yeah, old Squanto was pretty dashing and daring.
And I don't have any pictures.
Over in England, he's very well dressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
he wasn't dressed like Ed Ames on Daniel Boone, I'll tell you that.
No, he wasn't. Now, let's go back a little historically here.
Okay.
Some scholars, the jury is still out on whether the feast at Plymouth really constituted the first Thanksgiving in the United States.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Historians have recorded other ceremonies of thanks among European settlers in North America that predate the Pilgrim celebration. For example, in 1565, the Spanish explorer, his name was Avila, invited members of the local Timucua, I don't know, another Indian tribe.
Spell it out once. I think I know that.
Timucua. Timucua.
Tecumseh.
No, there's no S there.
Well, there
Timucua.
Okay.
He invited these guys to a dinner, and that was in St. Augustine, Florida.
Oh, really?
And this was after
the weather's better down there.
It was after holding a mass to thank God for his crew's safe arrival. And then in 1619, there were 38 British settlers that reached a site known as Berkeley 100 on the banks of Virginia's James River.
Oh my!
And they read a proclamation designating the date as a day of thanksgiving to Almighty God.
Mm-hmm. And they had the Indians and the Pilgrims.
The British.
The British, okay.
Yes.
All right.
And I know we're running out of time. And
I got 2 minutes left.
So let me just throw something out real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
The miracles that made America possible.
Oh, real good.
Just real quickly, the Chinese had the largest shipping ships in the world at one time, flotilla.
Yeah.
They sent a group of 350 ships around the world for 2.5 years. They did not discover America.
They didn't bump into it?
They didn't bump into it. The miracle of Jamestown, the miracle of the Civil War, the miracle of just miracle after miracle that preserved this land for freedom.
Really?
Now, just one thing real quick again, the Civil War.
Yeah.
If it hadn't turned out the way it had, we could have been like Europe.
Yeah.
We could have had a country in Georgia, Florida. We could have had a country in the Northwest and Northeast, a country in the Middle West. We could have been like Europe and had all these countries that would have been fighting among themselves and arguing over borders. And the miracle of the United States, we've got turmoil, of course, but it's still the greatest land in the world. And one other quick note I ran across, scholars figure there's been 100 to 110 billion people on the earth since the beginning. Of those, only 5% have lived in freedom as we know it.
Really?
5%.
We are blessed.
The rest were born in slavery, lived in slavery, died in slavery.
And we are blessed.
We are.
Oh. You did it, Dr. Ken Turner. And next week on the program, he's going to give us a complete definitive viewpoint of where the word pilgrim came from.
That's right. I'm still thinking it's John Wayne, but...
Yeah. Well, pilgrim. Anyway, I do appreciate it. And may I say, I don't say this enough. I get all gushy-eyed, and I say to you and your family, Happy Thanksgiving.
Zeb, thanks. We've been doing this for about 7 years or so, and...
it's been fun.
I've enjoyed it. We've had a lot of fun doing this, and I hope we can continue to do it.
I do too, and I got to tell you something, Gina. He sat here like the Rock of Gibraltar this morning. He didn't barely move. I mean,
I am impressed.
I was worried about his breathing there for a while.
I did turn a little pale there, didn't I?
Yeah. Sounded like you had an asthma attack every now and then, but you were okay. Thank you.
Zeb, you have a great day with your family. Great Thanksgiving.
And
I appreciate you.
God bless you, man. Thank you.
You too.
One of my dearest friends, Dr. Ken Turner, better known as Dr. History. Oh, real quick, dr-history.com, heard now in how many countries?
Still about 55 or so countries.
And how many hits?
Over 90,000. So we're creeping up all the time.
Yeah, we're just like the flu.
An epidemic.
God bless you.
Thank you, Zeb.
Thank you so much. We're going to be back in just a minute, but before I leave and send it over to Gina, I want to remind you, great big Black Friday sale going on all this week. All this week, the Black Friday sale from Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. Oh, my. Listen to this. A Samsung 75-inch smart LED TV, just $19.99. That is a savings of $800. I'm not kidding you. How about this one? A Samsung 60-inch smart LED TV, $799. That's a saving of $300. Oh, run, don't walk. Get into Quality's Electronics right now today for their Black Friday sale going on all this week. Absolutely. At Quality's Electronics, 1730 Kimberly Road in Twin Falls. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
I always look forward to having Ken on my program, Dr. History. And like he said, we're being heard now in 55 foreign countries. And, man, the people over in China really enjoy learning all about what happened out here in the Old West. Hey, by the way, on Thursdays, we have a segment called Cassia County School Days. And I want to just say thank you very much to A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley for sponsoring that. If you mention my name, you walk in the front door to Child's World and say, Zeb Bell sent me, you'll get 25% off any item. Holy buckets, save money, just use my name. Don't use it in vain. And they're also going to be holding a home for the holidays, 20% off the entire purchase. Stop into A Child's World today. You're going to love the savings and enjoy the store. A Child's World, 1308 Overland in Burley. And don't forget to Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley. And the end of the year is fast approaching. approaching, and if you've met your deductible, schedule your procedures like maybe arthroscopic knee surgery, hand surgery, colonoscopies, etc. All you have to do to find out how to save a lot of money on your surgeries is call the Ambulatory Surgery Center at 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center and A Child's World, bringing you school days in Cassia County. Holy smokes, we got to get rocking and rolling here, and we have a guest with us. I can't wait to find out about this man's book. Really, I'm excited about it. The title is Dark Winter, How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell. And Mr. John L. Casey, former White House National Space Policy Advisor and NASA Headquarters Consultant and Space Shuttle Engineer, got through that. Good morning, John. How are you? Is John there?
I hear you loud and clear, Zeb.
Thanks, John. It's great to have you on our program, and it's also refreshing in this day and age of the liberals trying to throw climate change and global warming down our throat, and we're all going to burn up. It's refreshing to hear the truth through a book like yours, Dark Winter, How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell. Give us a little background as to why you wrote the book.
The book actually got started, happenstance, back in early 2007. I had started another book unrelated to climate, but it did have a section on the sun, and doing some solar physics research for that particular chapter in the book, I started digging into the solar activity, the sun's behavior, going back thousands of years. And as a result, I realized after weeks of research that a cycle of the sun that's 206 years long was going to end global warming almost immediately and start a new cold era. So that's how it all began.
John, let me ask you this. Why do you think over the years that you've studied this and you've written this book, why are the liberals, why are they really, really out to push climate change? Why are they out to push global warming? Why is Al Gore so dedicated to spending his many millions into trying to tell everybody we're going to burn up?
Well, if you go back and look at history to see how this global warming movement got started, it was back in the mid-'80s in Great Britain. Prime Minister Thatcher was dealing with coal strikes that were hurting the economy, and she wanted to come up with a reason for shutting down the coal industry. And a old theory that had been always a weak scientific theory, the greenhouse gas theory, was brought to her attention, and she said, that's what I want to do, and started putting lots of money into creating the story that the greenhouse gas theory and mankind's CO2 runs climate change. She didn't have any idea that it would take on the monster that, value and weight that it has over the years. She had no idea that the UN would pick this up, make it part of their global socialism that they wanted every country to follow. And then she actually argued against Bill Clinton implementing this scheme, and of course President Obama has picked it up subsequently.
Yeah, John, when you look at this situation, I can't remember the exact year, and you have the knowledge on this, but help me. What I think Time magazine back in the 70s, I want to say 1977, I believe was running a front page story and cover of Time magazine showing us going into another ice age. And yet the liberals are trying to promote the fact that we're going to burn up and all the ice is going to melt. But when you realistically look at global warming versus global cooling, global warming would be a lot better for everybody around the world because of crop productivity, etc., not global cooling.
Exactly. Time and Newsweek both ran front-page articles back in 1974 and 75 telling the world that we're heading into a new ice age. And in fact, if you look back over the last 100 years or so, there have been 6 or 7 separate periods of time, varying about 15 or 20 years in duration, where we were told by the media and various scientists that the Earth was overheating or that a new ice age was starting, one or the other, and that flip-flop
has been going on for 6 or 7 iterations in the last 100 years. The last global warming period from the mid-'80s to just after 2005, in fact, has been with us. But now that is heading back to global cooling, but not because of any misunderstanding, but because of the reality that we are, in fact, cooling off as a globe and not warming up.
John, what do you see as a study of what's happening with our climate? What do you see as an author of this book? What kind of trends are you seeing that make you stand in line and say, absolutely, we're going into a beginning of a solar hibernation?
Well, in following the sun and cycles of the sun, it's a very strong, very clear correlation between global cold eras and the sun going into hibernation. And by hibernation, what we're talking about is the sun cuts back on its energy output across a spectrum of measurements. Total solar irradiance, the sun's magnetic field, all of these things, of course, affect all the planets and certainly the Earth-Moon system. But we measure in our Global Climate Status Report 24 global climate parameters, including a half dozen from the sun, and based on that, we evaluate the trends, facts only, no political correctness, and we publish those every 6 months in our Global Climate Status Report.
John, when you look at the situation around the world, and especially right here in the United States, we are the leading food producer with the most safe and abundant food supply to help feed the masses around the globe. What would it do to have this kind of a cooling effect on our crops and our being able to be the world leader?
Well, certainly the breadbasket, as we know of it in the Midwest, that feeds the world, didn't even exist the last time this solar hibernation took place from 1793 to 1830. And yet the same effects should be expected as the sun once again does what it did back then. And what happened back then was we had globally major crop losses, starvation, riots, civil wars, and wars that persisted for decades. We should not be surprised to see the same effects. Those that study history are the best people to go to when it comes to predicting the future. And we expect the same kinds of side effects during this next 20 to 30 years.
I would imagine that you're not the most liked person at a party of global warming alarmists. You're kind of like a fly in the punch bowl, but how are your thoughts being received after people have read your book? What are they saying to you?
Well, beginning back when I issued my first press release, I had just finished a classified project for the White House, and I thought I was ready to retire. I had a great career starting and running high-tech companies, doing lots of work for our space program. But all of a sudden, after I issued my first press release indicating the end of global warming and the start of the new cold era, I immediately became a scammer, a hoaxer, and a fraud, and that has pretty much continued. Clearly, the left and more recently the Democratic Party has really gone way off the deep end and pushing this myth of man-made climate change. And truly it is a myth, given the fundamentals, which include the fact that we've had no global warming for 18 years. The oceans began cooling rapidly in 2003, and the atmosphere is to follow. And the sun's rapid descent into a zero sunspot era, according to many scientists, portends a new extreme cold weather record for the next, I say, 20 or 30 years.
John, when someone closes the cover of your book and they've gone down and purchased Dark Winter, How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell, we'll take that call in a minute, but what's the last thing you want people to remember when they finish reading your book?
Well, I want them to remember that facts stand out more than political correctness, and the political correctness of our current era will not keep people warm or fed during this next cold era. Only facts and preparation will do that.
Absolutely. Caller, go ahead quickly with your question, please.
Yes, they say there's really no such thing as a conspiracy theory, but I say, okay, then what would you call this? Why are so many people so willing to go along with the lack of logical science? Is it about control, idealism? What is your thoughts on that? I'll hang up.
That's a good question. John, what do you think about that? Why are so many people ready to go in lockstep along with the global warming crowd?
Well, curiously, I think it's a matter of timing. This is the first period in the history of the human species when we've had such an environmentally conscious people, mostly starting from the environmental movement that began in the mid-50s, but even accelerating now in the last 20 years because of this global socialism that began in the United Nations and was accented by the formation of the United Nations Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. The socialists and the progressives of the world saw this CO2, the greenhouse gas theory, as the tool they have been waiting for to force feed the folks who are now environmentally sensitive, and it just came out to be the perfect tool at the perfect time for imposing these grand one-world schemes. Not a conspiracy, per se, because this is so open. It's like being a Republican or a Democrat, a free market conservative or a socialist, communist-leaning one-world thinker. This is a philosophy in many cases. Some have called it a religion to compare it to the extent of the fever that people pursue this myth. But again, I think it was just a matter of timing.
John, where can the book be obtained? I've got to get a copy.
This book, I am very honored to say, has been picked up by Newsmax Media, one of the leading conservative media outlets, and they have recognized the importance of getting the word out about this new cold era, that people need to be prepared for it. So they have taken on a mission of putting my book in every home in the United States by giving it away for free.
Oh, my.
They have a promotion. If you go to newsmax.com/darkwinter online, you can read through their literature about me and a Mr. Tom Luongo, who's an investment advisor. And then you can select, which I recommend, select a minimum $5 contribution to their Climate Truth program. They will send you a email, video, 3 other publications, and they will mail my hardcover book, Dark Winter, to you for that very small $5 contribution to their program. Now, they estimate the total value at $180, but in any case, that is clearly the best, easiest, and cheapest way to get my book. I recommend it.
All right, I'm going to go get a copy, and then along with it, your marketing director had stated that he's going to send everybody a pair of red long underwear. Is that correct?
I'll check with him on that.
Okay. John Casey, God bless you. Dark Winter, How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell. I've got to get the book. I'll have you back. And the very best and happiest of Thanksgivings this week, John. Thank you very much.
You too, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Very interesting gentleman right there, and I am going to get that book. I can't wait to read it. Dark Winter, How the Sun is Causing a 30-Year Cold Spell. Now, he mentioned Newsmax, and I am a subscriber to the Newsmax magazine that comes out, and I will, on the very next edition, as a matter of fact, I've made some notes, and I will check on the address and how to obtain a copy of the book, and I know a lot of you would like to get that. I'll give that to you over the air in the next couple of days. Holy smokes, it's time for the weather. It's past time for the weather, Mr. Bell. And how does a smoked ham or smoked turkey sound for Thanksgiving? Well, if you haven't ordered yours, be sure and do that by calling Scarrows Meats at 324-7657. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Absolutely the best at custom meat processing, and they sell taste one bite at a time. Here now, Michael Rogers' weather. Let's try that again. And here now is Michael Rogers Weather.
Hold on, having some computer problems.
I can hear the problems. I tell you what, I'll fill in with something else. Pardon me? Nothing's coming down.
Winds out of the south.
There you go.
22. Possibly gusting as high as 36 miles an hour for today. Once the rain dies down later on tonight, look for an overnight low at 35. And Wednesday and Thanksgiving, it's going to be really nice. Mostly sunny, temperatures in the mid-50s. Enjoy the weather. So weather you got.
Gina is going to be celebrating Thanksgiving a little different than the rest of us. Instead of cutting the turkey, she's going to hack up the computer. Once again, let's
We don't have a phone call, just so you know. We're just testing a screen, so.
Oh, that's all right. I'll just fake it through. Once again, I want to remind everybody about Scarrow's Meats. Don Scarrow and the rest of the crew at 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. You get a hold of them today. Oh, and by the way, too, don't forget happy Thanksgiving wishes from AMI 719 Overland and Burley. Look for the big 28-foot wrench over the door. Go nuts over their bolts. These are really good people. Alan and Corey and Eric and Rob and the rest of the crew at AMI in Burley wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. As does Pro Paint, 1116 Overland and Burley, with Barbara and the rest of the crew, the best paint, best stains, best advice, and they are waiting to serve you. Absolutely get all fixed up for the holidays, Thanksgiving and Christmas. Pro Paint in Burley. And my friend Joe Taylor, 1826 Overland and Burley, with Carrie and Adams Realtors, buying or selling real estate, one call does it all, and this man is the best. Joe Taylor, honest and hardworking, wishing you peace on earth and a happy Thanksgiving, Joe Taylor. Thank you. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And would love to have your call. I was really lucky and fortunate to get John Casey, president of the Space and Science Research Corporation, to come on this program this morning. A very nice man, too, and I'm going to get that information on how to obtain that book. Should be really interesting. By the way, don't forget our friends at Snyder Surplus. Hi, Deanne. Snyder Surplus, 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. Oh, my. They've got everything in that new building. Everything brand new in the new building. A great selection of camo clothing, and they got a lot of furniture. I have got to get over there between the next couple of days and get a new desk chair. Mine has died and gone to desk heaven. And they've got couches and filing cabinets, and they've got everything over there. Please check out all the items you're looking for at Snyder Surplus, and they're located again at 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. Really, really nice people. All right, give us a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Let me see, what else was I going to mention to you? Oh, drivers in parking lots. Last night, yours truly and my lovely bride, we were almost not here. We were almost not here. We were in a shopping center parking lot, going down a main avenue out of the shopping center to a highway, the approach to the highway. And to my right, coming down one of the lanes, was a guy doing about 50 miles an hour in a parking lot with all the little kids and the shoppers and everything around. And he was trying to beat another guy to a parking space. Missed the front end of my pickup by maybe 6 inches. Yours truly inhaled the steering wheel and said some really choice expletives and hit the brakes and just barely missed this guy. Why do people, I just don't understand, with all the little kids and all the ladies and the gentlemen and the families out shopping and getting ready not only for Thanksgiving but their Christmas shopping and everything, why in the world would anybody with a brain matter of over 4 want to go driving crazy like that through the parking lot just to get a parking spot? Please, Slow down and watch out for everybody. Man alive. He easily could have killed somebody, and there was no excuse for it. None. Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to talk to you real quick about BAMA, Burley Area Merchants Association. Oh, boy, the Burley Area Merchants Association with great, great stores and lots of fantastic merchandise. Don't go shopping to Timbuktu when you can get everything right there in Burley and help support your local stores. Absolutely. And don't forget, they're going to have their great big Christmas tradition next Monday with the annual Burley Christmas Light Parade. Oh, fun. Entries are going to gather at Dworshak School at 5:30. The parade to Centennial Park starts at 6, and Santa's going to be there to turn the lights. He's flying in with his reindeer, Rudolph, and everything. And then he's going to stay in his house right there in Centennial Park and eat free chocolate, hot chocolate, and donuts and cookies. Oh, it's going to be a ripping good time next Monday night. And your BAMA Merchants, Burley Area Merchants Association, is in charge. You better believe it. Gina, you going to take Kennedy over there and get free hot chocolate and donuts and coffee?
Oh, betcha.
You know, I splurged yesterday.
And what did you do?
I had a great big, huge, I piled it on of vanilla bean ice cream with strawberry sauce.
Ooh, that sounds really good.
You know me and ice cream.
Yes.
And you know me and this cardboard diet I've been on.
Yes.
I ended it yesterday.
Uh-oh.
Well, just for the day.
Oh, yeah?
I'm back on the cardboard again.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
And how's that cardboard tasting?
Can't say those words on the air.
Not that great, I take it.
I hate it. If there's a nuclear war, I hope it's a direct hit.
Well, Thanksgiving just around the corner.
I know.
And I am sure that you'll be able to fill up on all of the stuff that you know and love.
My favorite part of Thanksgiving is the white meat of the turkey smothered in gravy.
Mm-hmm.
And I absolutely love pecan pie with a little scoop, not big. I'm not going to try to be a pig, ice cream. And that's my favorite part of the Thanksgiving dinner.
I have to agree.
Yeah.
I love dessert. My favorite part, honestly, of Thanksgiving dinner, the leftovers, and of course the turkey sandwiches.
Oh, there is nothing better than some turkey sandwiches, with some biscuits that have been warmed up, or fresh made biscuits, sourdough biscuits or something. Yeah. Hey, I know some other good stuff too. Are you slipping and sliding? Well, you won't be if you stop in, excuse me, to your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations have all the tires, traction tires for your winter driving, all the tires pinned for studs, and they've got all the tire chains. Holy smokes, you won't get stuck. And believe me, the best in brake service too. You need to stop in and they can make sure you drive safely this winter. And they've got all the batteries you need to make sure you can turn the engine over and keep on rolling. And shocks and struts, front end alignments. What are you waiting for? Stop over and see our friends Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley, Les Schwab Tire Centers. I want to say thanks to Gina for another exceptionally good job, and take that hammer and hit the computer once for me.
I will.
And tomorrow on the program, what do we got tomorrow, Gina? We got Doug Johnson, we got Kyle Olson with EAGnews.org. We've got, and the last half hour, be ready for this, Gina. We're going to talk about all the thanks in Thanksgiving. She's gone. Anyhow, that's what we're going to do tomorrow. We're going to have a special segment on all the things we have to be thankful for. We do it every year, the day before Thanksgiving, and we're going to do it again tomorrow. Until tomorrow at 8:06, we'll ride the horse for 3 hours right here on Zeb at the Ranch. And don't forget, the way things were or the way things ought to be. God bless you. Happy Thanksgiving.